Gaming news today is all about what comes next. First, a reliable leaker and insider is making some interesting claims about The Last of Us Part 3, and in light of our own recent reporting here on this channel, it's definitely worth taking a look at what's being claimed. Second, on that same token, Neil Druckmann is not done talking and doing interviews. He just did another one and gave a lot of new details about Intergalactic, how different this game will be compared to the others that they've made, and I think it sounds actually pretty promising. Third, Motive's Iron Man game may be closer than we thought, but a recent update to a schedule might be dashing hopes of seeing it just around the corner. Lastly, a lot of rumors have been circulating about God of War and the collection that could be coming, but Santa Monica gave fans some disappointing news about the upcoming anniversary for the game. And as always, I've got a game for your wish list and your radar. And recently we've been telling folks that a really great way to help us do what we do here is to support the channel directly. We have a Member Plus membership at $6. That gets you into a daily segment called The Green Room at the end of every day. It also gets you into morning coffee, streams with my wife, as well as the Discord. And apparently the mobile apps have updated, and the upgrade button is now there for some people. If you go to the membership tab on my channel, it should just let you upgrade. That's been a challenge for people that were on gifteds. If you cannot afford a membership, we totally understand. That's why we gift a lot of memberships here. Just hit that like button and the subscribe button. That way you're here all of the time. So let's get into this. What in the world is going on with The Last of Us Part 3? In case you missed it, recently Neil Druckmann gave fans of The Last of Us some unwelcome news. He seemed to indicate that there would be no more Last of Us, or it was very likely that there would be no more. He made it sound like Part 3 was not happening or extremely unlikely. Now, when we covered this at the time, we went back and we looked at what he had said in a documentary about a Tommy story that he had shelved that may show up later as a show or a game. And then when he talked about the third game, he could not come up with a story or a concept. It took him a very long time. He was able to develop a concept, but had not yet developed a story. Now, this led to me saying that there were three possibilities of why Neil was saying what he was saying about how we might not see any more of The Last of Us. First, maybe they decided they just could not make Part 3 in a way that honored Parts 1 and 2. Second, maybe they want to further the story on the show because the studio seemed to have no problem to move on. They had already been in The Last of Us for over a decade with making the two games, and maybe they wanted to move on to Intergalactic. We're going to be talking about how they're actually referring to it as a franchise in my show open this morning. Third, maybe Neil was just trying to downplay questions about The Last of Us Part 3 because they want to focus on the marketing and the discussion around their next game, which is Intergalactic. If this is his goal to, downplay The Last of Us Part 3, I think it backfired because now that's all we're talking about instead of talking about Intergalactic. And I do think it is important to know that sometimes when people say things like this, they're just sort of trying to dissuade more questions. Like maybe that was just the goal. It's like he just didn't want to really get down into the muck and the mire of talking about The Last of Us Part 3. We now have a notable and reliable insider, Daniel Richtman. He does a lot of, insider information and leaks about movies and TV shows and is quite reliable. Well, I paid for his $5 Patreon because I wanted to know, what in the world was he claiming? He was claiming that The Last of Us Part 3 was in what many were calling advanced development. He said that he knows for a fact that they have both done casting and the filming of scenes for the third game. People were thinking, oh, he typically covers TVs and movies. Maybe he's talking about season 3. So I wanted to know for sure. So I was like, you know what? It's worth $5 to know what in the world he said and not go down a false rabbit trail. He specifically said third game on his Patreon post. Now keep in mind, if they've already done casting and they're already filming scenes, that's pretty deep in the development process. You're not putting folks in the mocap suits and having the staff available to work the cameras, record the footage, and more. That's not early dev or like pre-dev. That would mean they've progressed into what many have referred to as advanced production. So if his info is solid, I think maybe Neil was just being coy or trying to direct attention to Intergalactic. And, speaking of Neil and Intergalactic, he dropped a bunch of info about the game in a new interview that he just did. Sony is doing something called Creator to Creator video series, and he sat down with Alex Garland to talk about a bunch of different things. Now, some of these details are not new, but some are, and I think it's good to hear it all together. This game takes place 2,000 years in an alternate future that deviated from the 1980s. That's why there's a lot of 80s references in this trailer. Druckmann jokes that we made a game with The Last of Us Part 2. We made a certain creative decision that got a lot of hate, and a lot of people also loved it, and people hated it almost equally, right? So the joke is, he said, let's do something that people won't care about as much. Let's make a game about faith and religion. So this game is going to focus on that. There's a new religion that pops up. It becomes prominent, and there's an alternate timeline that deviates here. That's the timeline that this game takes place in. They basically spent years building out this religion from the original prophet and how it changed and evolved over the centuries. It takes place on a planet called Semperia, and then communication stops. No one's heard from Semperia in 600 years. Jordan, the main character, has to figure out what happened if she hopes to escape, because she crash lands on Semperia. So everything is going to take place on this planet, and they are more heavily focusing on combat. And just rewatching the trailer, I still can't believe people are wasting so much time hating on it because of what the character looks like. The lighting and the movement, and it's all in engine. It's very impressive. Digital Foundry and some other developers have weighed in on how the trailer really shows off the development chops of Naughty Dog. So they're also referring to this game as a franchise. So I could see this being, this one's called, the full title of this video game is Intergalactic The Heretic Prophet. I could see, Intergalactic The Final Priest, Intergalactic The Apostate Temple, things like that. Like, they could basically give sub-names after Intergalactic because it has that subtitle. So this could just be the first of many games. Maybe some of the characters we see in the picture you'll get to play as in the other games. They do have a pretty impressive cast in this trailer. So this game, I do not think, though, is set for 2025. He did seem to indicate that it was still a ways out. So this is likely a 2026, I think probably a late 2026 release. Now, I don't have a trailer for you on this one. The Iron Man game, according to Insider Gaming, it was maybe going to be at the GDC, right? In a recent scheduled post, it was revealed that Motive was going to be presenting something to do with Iron Man at the GDC. Now, this could be a demo where they're literally demoing it and just showing you off gameplay. However, Insider Gaming did another update on this, and that has been removed from the schedule. So either they don't have anything to show and they had to back out, or it got discovered and they're trying to hide it. Maybe they want this to be a surprise. Eagle-eyed people find this sort of thing and hits the gaming airwaves. So it's interesting that it disappeared after Insider Gaming reported on it. We were going to report on this earlier in the week, but the PlayStation hardware and Xbox hardware discussion kind of took over. So it may have gotten reported on by Insider Gaming, and somebody at the GDC said, hey, take that off the schedule. That's supposed to be a surprise. Or, hey, take that off the schedule. Timelines have changed. We don't have anything to show. So we'll have to wait and see if anything happens there. And bad news for fans of God of War. The rumored God of War collection is not likely to be announced at the upcoming Celebration panel. The God of War as a franchise, its Celebration 20 year is happening in the month of March, and many were starting to speculate, well, this would be a great time to announce the rumored God of War collection. It's not been officially stated. Santa Monica officially said on Twitter, quote, "We do want to be clear that there are no planned announcements for this event. I definitely think this is a don't expect anything disclaimer. I don't think they're being cute or playful. I think they mean this. I don't think you're supposed to read between the lines and say, oh, there's no planned announcement. There's still going to be an announcement. No, I do not think there's going to be anything announced. When you announce something with a franchise of this size, I don't think you do it at a Celebration panel. I think you would probably more than likely do it in an official capacity at a showcase or something. So now I've got a game for your wish list and your radar. This game is called Roboquest. It's currently available on Xbox Game Pass as well as on Steam. It is a very, very fun and frenetic shooter rogue, first-person shooter rogue. You can play two-player co-op. It's very much like Borderlands meets Gunfire Reborn meets a roguelike. And the two-player co-op is an absolute blast. I played this a bunch with my nephews. I would love to play this with my wife, and I'm hoping I'll be able to do that later this year. It is coming to PlayStation, and just yesterday they announced that it is also coming to the PSVR 2. It was in a PlayStation blog about the PSVR 2 games coming. There were 6 games in that blog. seemingly PlayStation is maybe backing the VR2 and deciding to give it more support and get more games. They're doing a price drop on it. I thought the price drop could be a concern that they're moving away from it, but it could be a decision to get it into the hands of more consumers. And this game is slated to be coming to the PSVR 2 in the fall. Now, we don't know when Roboquest is coming to PlayStation, if it's going to come before that, or if fall is the release date, or if the VR2 version is the release date. But again, you can play it right now on Xbox Game Pass as well as Steam. So that's the news, and now it's time for the discussion. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Guys, make sure you're going through the ritual. You already got me 100 likes, and you guys know what I'm going to say. Let's go for 200. When that like count goes up really fast, it does help. We've gotten a lot more people tuning in this week. It seems like YouTube may have resolved some of their issues, and it also seems like they've made it easier for you to upgrade your membership. If you missed my little PSA at the beginning, the mobile apps now have an upgrade button. People are finding an upgrade button. They go to my channel, they slide over to the memberships tab, and they're seemingly able to upgrade. And OGDSB, is that an upgrade? It says you've been at that tier for 15 months, but it also says you upgraded 0 days ago. So I'm not sure if you are jumping back in or if YouTube is misfiring. If it's an upgrade, let me know. Steam Duck Trucker also did a rejoin at Member Plus, so that's there. And then DK Bager, Han shot first, and so did you, the very, very first gifted member of the day. Thank you so much. And then Joker Quinn gifted a member as well, so that gets us to, that's 4 members in total. That gets us to 216. I will bump it to 217, though, if OGDSB, if that is indeed an upgrade. We just celebrated that milestone of 600 people paying for their own memberships, and we're now at 604, so more and more people continue to jump in, and thank you so much for those of you that continue to do that. The dude's angry at any game with a woman unless they look like a blow-up doll. They have those games. We can ignore them forever. Yeah, you know, the hate and the ire that was hurled at Split Fiction didn't seem to work. That game absolutely crushed it, both in sales as well as, you know, player-based numbers. XCal with the VIP, thank you so much, gets us to 217 on the member count. Guys, thanks so much for those of you that continue to gift, but also those of you that continue to, you know, sign up for memberships. Hang on, I'm messing up the count here. And he also gifts a member. He pays it forward and bumps the line to 218. Thank you so much for gifting a member, XCal. OGDSB was an upgrade. They got gifted from Joker Quinn. OG's saying it was a re-up. I think you got things backwards. Yeah, he says he's re-upping. Joker Quinn. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. Joker Quinn's gifted did go to you, OGDSB, and then it registered as a re-up. What the heck is YouTube doing? If you already had a membership, why would it gift you one? That doesn't make any sense. If you guys have received a gifted membership and you're on iPhone, try updating the app and then go to my channel and slide over to the membership tab and see if that upgrade button is there for you. About to be 0 to 5 with Shadows, and then I begged them to take on Kojima. They're like 0 to 4 this year with the games that they're attacking. Yeah, the guys attacking games, they're swinging and missing, and I told you guys that would happen this year. I've gotten pretty good at predicting where these types of things go, and I said they're going to pick a bunch of bad targets, and they have. They thought Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was woke, and the Monhun was woke, and then Split Fiction was woke, and they're all commercially insane. They're doing insane right now. AC Shadows, I think is on pace to be also commercially successful. Cisco with 29 months out of Member Plus, thank you so much. That gets us to 219. What do you guys think's going on with The Last of Us Part 3, though? Like, what in the world is going on? So now we got, I got gifted on another channel that you're already paying for. Yeah, I think YouTube's drunk. If this guy that gets this insider information, his stuff is usually rock solid, right? His stuff is usually rock solid, and he says they've already done casting, they've already filmed scenes, and I'm like, why would Neil Druckmann say what he said then? It was, and again, I always found the answer from the beginning of the coverage, of this. I always found his answer to be weird, which is why in my video about it, I made sure to highlight the fact that when he spoke to Uncharted, he was firm. We are done. We're moving on. We put our final brushstroke on that game. And a single gifted comes in from Stone Spire. He sets up a 5-bomb dunker. He's trying to set it up. He wants somebody to slam it home for the 220, and I'll owe 5. I'll get the tag team with somebody. Let's do it. I'm starting to see Neil's comment is don't bet on it as cheeky. His religion, isn't a controversial topic from the new interview. Right, but I don't know. I don't know if he was being cheeky. He takes a big sigh and he's like, I was anticipating this question. He sounded coy, like he's sandbagging, and we get T-Lu Part 3. In the T-Lu universe, not 3, subtitle, maybe scope scale like a Lost Legacy. He did say in the Grounded documentary, Game Logic, he said that the concept he came up with would be its own thing. To me, he said it would have the through line of the story, but it would be its own thing. I think what he's meaning is Joel, and then you play as Ellie and Abby, and the third game, you'd be playing as somebody completely different. It would be attached to everything that had happened, but like I said, I imagine it would be the baby all grown up, and then Dina and Ellie would be old. Like they would switch the whole thing around, so the through line would be there, but you wouldn't need to feel like, well, time to play another game as Ellie scrounging for scraps and bow and arrow. Like I think that when he said it would be its own thing, maybe that's what he meant. Like we're gonna try to attach it to the story, have the through line, call it part 3, but it would not be this like, well, now it's time for Ellie to have her redemption arc. T-Lu 3 probably doesn't need a super long dev time as the core tech already exists. They can do like Insomniac with Spider-Man games and crank it out quicker. This is true, Bumblepants. Intergalactic, he says, is still a ways out though. So unless they've got the dev team split down the middle, I mean, the people that were working on factions obviously have been freed up. They had the Tommy story also. They could have created something conceptual at least. It probably now is, it's not working now. It's probably not working right now. The Tommy thing sounded like they shelved it and he came up with a completely different concept for the third game. It also sounded like he was open to the Tommy story becoming a TV show or something else, like a movie or not a game. It could be a game, but it's not like he was open to the Tommy thing showing up. It could show up in the TV show. Imagine Ellie having a child, the child having the same immunity, and Ellie being forced into the same position as Joel. How would she end up having a child? I don't think they've established that she's... Have they established can she play for both teams? She's with Dina or would want to be back with Dina or another woman. I don't know. That would be a big flip. You know what I'm saying? And she could adopt, but then she would, for what Eugene outlined, she's passing on the immunity. B-Nibble with 25 months and a Member Plus. Hotline Miami is $2 on Steam. Thank you so much for renewing that Member Plus. That bumps the line to $221. Little PSA for you guys there. Hotline Miami's $2 on Steam. Thank you very much, B-Nibble. She could take in a child. Right, but again, for what Eugene said, he's talking about passing on immunity. It's a post-apocalyptic society. You got to take one for the team for human survival. She would go with a donor. She doesn't actually, for sure, but do you think they have that kind of system set up? You know what I'm saying? They got like food and gardens and stuff. I think a compelling story would be Abby having the child and Abby's child having the immunity. But establishing immunity, I guess they establish it in the show. I don't know if they consider the show canon, but they establish how it happens in the show. They don't really establish why Ellie is immune in the games. They never really explain it. Intergalactic, no thanks. I mean, I'm saying yes, please do it. I think it looks great. I don't get hung up on what characters look like. One of my all-time favorite games is Hellblade 1, and Senua looks insane and dirty and nuts. I mean, that's one of my favorite games. If that was the case, Joel will just let her die in the end of part 1? Huh? I don't understand what you're saying. At some point, does saving the human race require people birthing? I don't know. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Turkey baster, stop. That's nasty. Intergalactic will lock Game of the Year when it drops. Bet. I think because of the jury process and what they respond to, if they bring the level of storytelling and character development and combat, yeah, I think it'll do really well. There's obviously going to be people that hate it. Let them. They were hating on Split Fiction, didn't do anything. They were hating on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, didn't do anything. They're hating on AC Shadows. It's not doing anything. I mean, I really think they think like ratios on YouTube matter. I think they do. I was like, all right. Naughty Dog has earned my absolute trust when making games. I'll be excited for anything they make until they make something bad. Yeah, she'll adopt a baby giraffe. Full circle with the first game. There it is. The third game will be all about her pet giraffe. Guys, make sure you're pressing the like button as you come through. Get us to 200 likes super quick. We're talking about the gaming news did dry up quite a bit. I mean, both PlayStation and Xbox, making waves with respect to hardware in the news space, and everybody else went dead quiet. I thought we were about to get a game preview last night. That's what I thought. I thought we were about to get a preview because I was like, man, it is really quiet out here. Like, none of the outlets were saying anything. They hit a Concord and it was closed down. Yeah, but again, I think people misunderstand. You know what I mean? Don't know if the numbers mean anything to you. You love to see it. Yeah. More and more people are able to upgrade. I hope that more and more people are able to do it. Apparently that button got added to the iPhone app today. Maybe make sure you guys are on the latest version of the iPhone app or on the latest version of the Android app, and see if when you go to the members tab on my channel if there's an upgrade button there for you. I can't read Intergalactic and not think of BC Bubs. Yeah, every time I search for it on YouTube, I find their stuff. So Concord was ignored by PlayStation fans. Has nothing to do with online hate grifters. Yeah, I think Concord was an easy target. It was not a game that had any. It didn't have a life. Like, you remember when the gameplay trailer dropped for that, I said, I think this is a huge risk. I said, who wants to play that? It looks like it's just another 5v5 hero shooter, and it looks an awful lot like Destiny. And I said that it didn't have a good chance. I said, I don't think this is going to go anywhere. And then the more they talked about it, and then after I played it, I was like, this is going to flop. Not once did I think that because the characters were a bunch of weird-looking characters or, pronouns or whatever. It really came down to, I was like, there's just no market demand for this at all. Like, there's no market demand for this. There's no room in the... I said the same thing about X Defiant, and look what happened to that. They didn't maintain a player pool, and it went away. Okay, well, I mean, I'm applying the same logic in both situations. So they're both not successful in the industry, and but this one's because of that. It's like, come on, boys. A $5 super chat tip from Arkham Knight. I found a game on PlayStation Store to pass the time until Shadows comes out. It's pretty good. It's called Werewolf. It came out on the PS4. Is that the one that I played way back in the day? It's just like crazy, over the top, and goofy. I will gift a member. I forgot to set the super chat goal, so sorry about that, Arkham Knight. Your super chat didn't hit the goal. Guys, make sure you're hitting the $ sign at the bottom of the chat and celebrating your membership renewals. Fair Games is next. Yeah, that's the Werewolf game I played. That game was hysterical. It was so over the top and silly, but also hilarious. I never played The Last of Us. Maybe that's why I'm not interested in Intergalactic. I don't think The Last of Us is going to be a catalyst to enjoying Intergalactic, but I played Uncharted 4, I played Last of Us Parts 1 and 2, and I'm like, Naughty Dog makes great games. They make great games. I found a bourbon to try. What is that? Oh, Rip Van Winkle in a box, in like an actual wood box. That's got to be a couple $100 or more. They look the same so far. What looks the same so far? X Defiant boomed for months and had no retention. Concord died out of the gate. Slightly different. I will 100%. It's $52,000. Oh, that's all. I will 100% agree with you, Kage, that they died in different ways, but it's the same idea. It's like X Defiant boomed because it basically grabbed a bunch of disgruntled Call of Duty players and gave them a Call of Duty adjacent experience. Concord was like, there was nothing original there. It was just, here's a hero shooter with a bunch of unappealing characters in it. I don't know. They definitely died for different reasons, but what I'm saying is I'm applying the same, guaranteed that gets clipped and people say that I say that X Defiant and Concord are the exact same, which is a lie and not true, but it'll get clipped and framed in that way. But my point was I'm applying the logic of the demand in the market's not there for it. The demand in the market for those games always is going to dry up. There was no demand for Concord, but the demand for this arena shooter push that some of these companies are pushing, it's like, I don't think the demand is there. I think you'll have excited players for a couple of weeks and then they'll disappear. Concord went nowhere. I mean, it didn't even have a player base because I think it targeted an even smaller target. X Defiant at least targeted a big target. It targeted like, hey, you like arena style games like COD? Well, yeah. Saying, hey, you like 5v5 hero shooters? People are like, no, not really, not anymore. I mean, you know. And somebody's going to say, well, Marvel Rivals is being successful. I don't think anybody would cast that as just like a typical 5v5 hero shooter. Like, it is an arena hero game. It is a shooter, but it's Marvel. Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's just such a cheat code to have Marvel attached to your game. They also very clearly were mimicking Overwatch, and they probably got a ton of the Overwatch people because Overwatch 2 is just imploding. Like, you can't manufacture hype and excitement. Like, you can't. But when you look at Marvel Rivals, they basically said, everybody loves these characters. Everybody loves to play as characters like this. Let's build it in a familiar style of game where, you know, Overwatch is not doing well. People will flock to this. Now, that kind of happened with X Defiant. Some of X Defiant's popularity came from the fact that people were pretty disgruntled about Call of Duty. But they all, you know, those guys tend to always go home, right? Well, with Overwatch, there's nothing to go home to. You know, there's nothing to go home to. And plus, how do you compete with Marvel characters? You know, my son saw the game and wants to play it. Why? He doesn't know what it's about. He saw Marvel characters, and he's like, yeah. And I bet you if I let him play it, he would think it's awesome. He would just run around as Rocket Raccoon shooting stuff. It's an actually good game. Oh, it's totally a good game. What I'm saying is if you're trying to set your sights on the arena hero shooter or the arena shooter right now, I just think you're going to have an incredibly hard time. You're going to have an incredibly hard time. I don't think you're going to be able to maintain player pools a lot of the times. X Defiant couldn't do it, and I think Splitgate's going to struggle for the same reasons. I continue to think that there's not enough people. Most of these consumers are migrating. It's a migratory effect from one game to the next, and then they'll migrate back. In Marvel Rivals' corner is the fact that there's no way to migrate. There's nowhere to migrate back to. You know. Where are you going to go? There's no game like it right now, unless you want to go back to Overwatch 2, and people are not happy with that game. A lot of broken promises over there. You know? Louis with 20 months. Come on, boys, the water's fine. Lono, is the PC build at 1,000 member plus still on the table? Oh, yeah, it's a different PC. That's a different PC. This one here was for streaming. I want to build a gaming rig. Yeah. Oh, and thank you for the member plus. Thank you so much. Yeah. We're trying to tell people to check out, see if the button is there for you. They're seemingly making it easier to upgrade. For the longest time, people were trying to upgrade and could not. So if you're on Android or iPhone, be sure to go and double check when you go to my channel, go to the memberships tab, see if that upgrade button's there. X Defiant issue was it was COD Lite. We wanted to get away from all of the spam jumping sliding, and X Defiant was the cracked out version of it. Fragpunk seems to be doing all right so far, despite lots of competition. Right, but it's never about does it do well right when it comes out. It's always, I always say, talk to me in 6 months. Do you understand? Like, Rivals is a breakout title. It's Marvel. It's the most recognizable IP in the world right now, next to what? Like Pokemon? Like, as far as being a catalyst to popularity, people want to act like saying this is an insult to the game. And they get really upset, and they'll call you all sorts of names. I've been clipped talking about this, and not surprising, it's always framed false and always a lie. It's like, hey, Nightbot's back. It's always a false frame. To deny the popularity of Rivals is 100% linked to the fact that it's Marvel, I think that's ignorant. It's like, are you kidding me? Like, it's 100% related to the fact that people are like, I want to go play as Spider-Man, Venom, or Captain America, or Iron Man. If it was just a bunch of generic heroes, the game, I think the game would have done fine. I think it would have soaked up a bunch of the Overwatch people, and people would have been like, this is the next Overwatch. I don't think it would be at the stratosphere that it is without the Marvel IP. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. That doesn't take away from the game's quality. It doesn't take away from the fact that, like, they built a great game. It doesn't. It's a great game. You can say it's a great game, but you can also say it's mega popular because of the Marvel IP. And look, this is what you're always going to deal with. Always. You will always deal with this. Here's Marvel Rivals, right? Boom, way up here. It's eaten high on the hog. And then, as always, I always say this arc is the arc that you should expect. There's a new floor now. A new floor for Marvel Rivals on Steam, 218,000. They have never been this low. Well, surprise, surprise, we're 3 months in. Now, this is not a sign of trouble, but this is the player pool arc that every single live service game will follow. Every game will follow this arc. You will have your apex, you will have your climax, and then you will fall down from it, and you gotta find the floor. Well, guess what? Marvel Rivals hasn't found the floor yet. It's still going down. That's not a crisis. It's not the game dying, right? It's not the game in a terrible state. If you want to build a live service game, look at how high they were flying, and look at how far you can fall from that high flight. You go from 500,000 player peaks to 250,000. You just, and because it's so popular, it'll be fine. Its floor could land in the 100,000s on Steam, and it'll be fine. That's not even including all the people playing on PlayStation and Xbox. So, if you're going to build a live service game, you're going to follow that player pool arc. You're going to follow the same arc, just up and down. If you guys are just tuning in, make sure you go through the ritual of smashing the like button. We got a lot that we're talking about. We're talking about all the different games coming out. We're talking about live service games. The gaming news was that The Last of Us Part 3 is seemingly happening, according to a notable and reliable insider who gets things right about TV shows and movies. I actually paid $5 to go to his Patreon just to make sure he was not talking about, the third season, since most of what he gets is based upon TV shows and movies, but he did in fact indicate that there is there has been advanced development work done on The Last of Us Part 3. There has been casting work, there have been scenes filmed, and these are not things that you do. These are not things that you do in early or pre-dev. They're not. They are things that you do far into development. So I would say that what Neil Druckmann said about The Last of Us Part 3 and how it might not happen, I think he was, I'm not sure what he was doing. I really don't. I don't know if he was like being coy, being cheeky. I'm not really sure, but I definitely think that what he said was not an accurate representation of whether or not the game is coming. Midnight Suns and Avengers killed themselves by not being fun enough to keep playing. Midnight Suns having good gameplay but terrible progression systems, and Avengers had no content. We say that, but Midnight Suns didn't take off, and the Avengers live service bombed, and the lesser-known heroes like Squirrel Girl, Jeff the Shark, and Magic are some of the most popular. you understand they're some of the most popular because what they do within the game itself, right? Like, you also are citing games that were, like, Avengers especially. The Avengers was horribly designed. It was a terrible live service game. Like, let's just say it. If Marvel Rivals came out and was really popular, but then the design was terrible, it would have bombed. Maybe you're not hearing what I'm saying in its totality. Again, I guarantee you, end of today, there'll be numerous clips of this conversation misrepresenting what I'm saying. Marvel Rivals is a well-built, very polished game, but its insane popularity is because it's Marvel. If you came out with a hero shooter, well-built, super polished, and it was not Marvel, it would not have hit 500,000 people on Steam. There's just no way. That level of virality and popularity is 100% linked to the fact that it's Marvel. There's nothing wrong with that. They leveraged a recognizable IP in a really, really good way. He may be weary of today's social media climate with the whole DEI cancel cruise. People went crazy over leaks and misinfo in 2020. He may want to insulate until the release for the third game. And they gave the characters cakes. Lona, don't act like that doesn't help. Right, like they got characters with their butts hanging out, man. They know what they're selling. Yeah, come on. They're selling recognizable IP and hyper attractive characters, and it's a very, very well built game, right? There would not have been any success for the game if it wasn't well built. It would have crashed and burned. It's the perfect combination. Nobody's taking away from that. But what I'm saying is, and again, this always gets lost in the shuffle, I'm zooming all the way out on live service games. And I'm saying, if you want to launch a live service game, like especially like a PvP oriented one, you're facing this. Just who cares what the number is? Let's say this peak of 644,000. Let's say that peak is 100,000. Let's say your game is called, Shooter Arena 5000, okay? Shooter Arena 5000, and your peak is 100,000. Okay, well, guess what? You're going to follow this trajectory. You're always going to fall from your peak. So the higher the peak, the more likely it is that you're going to succeed. Okay? The higher the game peaks, the more likely it is that you're going to be able to succeed. You literally need this level of success to hope that your floor isn't too far away, that you're able to survive and keep going. How in the blank is this even a question? It's undeniable that Marvel is a big plus for almost any product. It's popular no matter our individual feelings. Minimizing though, projecting though. I have not minimized once. No, that's false. Just clip and put that on Twitter. You'll fit in with the people over there. I'm not minimizing. I'm saying you need this level of popularity to be successful. Marvel is jet fuel in the tank. If you honestly think that all the marketing for Marvel Rivals, throwing Spider-Man and Venom in people's faces and Iron Man in people's faces, if you don't think that was in large part why they immediately had people interested, it creates immediate interest. It's like, oh, I'm going to go play that. That looks awesome. I can play as Spider-Man. I can play as Iron Man. If it's just a bunch of generic people that you've never heard of, you're going to have a ton of players that are going to shrug and be like, I don't want to play some knockoff Overwatch. Think about how dismissive people were being before the game was out. This is so funny because I was clipped, mocked, and made fun of because I said, I think Marvel Rivals is going to be a huge threat to Concord. I think Marvel Rivals is going to be incredibly popular. I was mocked, made fun of, and jeered at because it was Overwatch Marvel. It's just an Overwatch ripoff. And then I end up being right, and then I want to cite the fact that, yeah, Marvel's part of the reason it's so popular, and now you'll clip that and make fun of me and call me all sorts of names and misframe what I'm saying. It's like, no, listen, like, I'm giving it credit on both sides of its launch. Before it came out, I said, it's going to be popular. It's recognizable IP. I said, if my son saw the footage of Rocket Raccoon playing, he would want to play. You can go back and watch my coverage. I said every time Marvel Rivals came up, I said it's going to be a huge problem for Concord. Just the beta of Marvel Rivals, I said, was going to pose a threat to Concord. And I got all kinds of disagreement on that. I'm like, I think this game is going to be popular because it's Marvel and it's free. Yeah, it's free. Exactly, Mr. Chosen. You can't turn around and act like Marvel's not a part of the equation. I think that's just ignorant. That's so ignorant. Paladin stopped updating because of Rivals? No, I had people in my streams, Daniel. I had people in my streams, not Twitter. I had people in my streams that were saying that Marvel Rivals was just an Overwatch. It was just Marvel Overwatch, and that they didn't think it was going to be that successful. I'm like, I think it's going to be very popular. I didn't think it was going to hit 650,000 concurrents on Steam, but today, it was the perfect game for the right time. Overwatch 2 in decline. Marvel still a huge brand. Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I had people disagreeing with me, Daniel. I had people saying that it wasn't a threat to Concord because they were completely different games. And I was just like, no way. No way you're going to come to the market with a hero shooter and not compete with that. No way. Marvel IP and the game itself helped each other. The IP gave the game far greater reach than it could have without it, and the quality of the game allowed it to maintain a massive player count. I think that's perfectly stated, Dane. I don't disagree with anything that you're saying. So if anybody tries to claim and clip and lie about me and say that I'm acting like it's not a good game or that it's only popular because of Marvel, I have not said that. I have said it is one of the leading reasons it's so popular, because it gives you immediate reach. You're immediately getting people all across the globe to download your game because they see Spider-Man. It's that fast. It's like, oh, I'll try that out. Live service is a risky venture. It either hits or flops. The biggest issue in the market is flooded with competition. This is why I think Fair Games and Marathon are headed for failure, because they're going to charge money. They're especially Marathon. What a narrow POV of a game. I think, and they're charging money. Like, there's so many reasons that I think both those games are headed for trouble. They are. I do not think they stand a chance. One of the Overwatch players who's now Rivals 2, he's slowly getting into the comics. I mean, that's not surprising. That's not surprising. You start playing as a certain character and you think they're cool, or you see these characters that you're fighting against and you think they're cool. Yeah, you're gonna check out the stories that led to that led to this moment. I'm sorry, I already read that. Yo, what's good, Feed? I see you in the chat. It wasn't a threat to Concord because that game was a non-starter to begin with. Well, sure, Diaz, but at the time I was just making a prediction. I was saying, if you're going to release your hero shooter and then like a week later a Marvel game is in a free-to-play beta, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. It's Marvel and it's free. Like that, those are two pretty good combinations. You're 100% correct. It's sad that these games end up swallowing so many potential gamers. Same with COD and FIFA and so on. Well, I actually don't think that that's sad. Like, if people are playing what they want to play, I think a lot of the times there was an interesting clip I saw where, Gary Vee was basically scolding content creators who blame the algorithm. Now, to be fair, the algorithm does kind of crap on itself sometimes, and you'll have a really good video or stream or whatever die because YouTube updates something. But I still thought what he said was insightful. I think it was somewhat reductionist, but I feel like it was insightful. He said, it's not the algorithm that sucks, it's your content that sucks. He's like, the algorithm is people. It's people responding to your content, right? And I think that's what I'm going to say about, the popularity of Warzone, Fortnite, or Rivals. It's not like some sad tale that people are playing those games instead of other games because they're having a good time. And they're putting money into the gaming ecosystem. So why? I don't see that as a negative. It's like if they, I don't think there's some alternate universe utopian gaming space where if they weren't playing Fortnite, they'd be buying indies, or if they weren't playing Marvel Rivals, they'd be supporting some of these other titles. I don't think that would happen. People that are like, live service is ruining the industry. No, what the frick are you talking about? What are you even talking about? If it's ruining the industry, then how are all these games having commercial success? How is Split Fiction and Monster Hunter having commercial success? Live service has not done anything to damage the industry. It's just an easy thing to wail on for clicks. It's like, it's just a bunch of people playing games that they're enjoying. What do you care? And it seemingly isn't having any sway on people buying other games, like whether it's Split Fiction, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, or Monster Hunter Wilds. All three of those games have done very well critically and commercially. Now, obviously, Monhun Wilds has got optimization issues to work out, and I find it to be frustrating that we've got videos now of Asmongold reacted to one where it's like, he opened his video. What's his name? Legendary Drops. I like his content. I liked one of his videos recently. I forget what it was. It was about this game's not for you. I liked how he handled the topic. But he opened up the video with Monster Hunter Wilds just bodied the entire industry. And it's like, yeah, but I wouldn't be so quick to celebrate that. They basically sold 8 million games in 3 days, and they're taking the world by storm, and it's a poorly optimized, muddy mess. Like, that's actually acting like that's good for the industry. Why? Because it's got a hot female character, and and it's sold well. Like, you should want better quality out of the game on PC. What do you mean? On console, it also does not run. I would not consider that to be running well on the base consoles. The PS5 base and the Xbox Series X, it is not running that well, and the image quality is poor. You don't want a game like that being super successful. You're basically saying, yeah, it's totally fine to bring your game to the market and not have it optimized and have it look poor. Like, you know what I mean? That's not good. People are like, the live service games are killing the industry. Well, I don't think anything's killing the industry, but I definitely don't think it's good for gamers or the industry to have, poor optimized games blowing up and being super successful. The damage of live service comes when pubs want to morph every game into one. I think that, though, Jack Garland has already, the industry is already healing from that. I think, look at what happens to Kill the Justice League, Warner Brothers, and the studios under Warner Brothers. If you think publishers are going to keep taking a crack at that, I don't know. I think they're all going to reassess and either stop or make better. Like, even PlayStation completely got their jaw broke. Just wham, Concord, what the frick? Oh, well, we better reevaluate our plans. I think that a lot of these companies are learning you can't just trend chase for the live service buck. It doesn't work. I think the true criticism here is that gamers, especially in this community, suffer from main character syndrome. We believe that games have to appeal directly to us. We treat everything like... And Corey, you gotta get a membership into the Discord, man. You're always typing like 3 messages at a time. I wish I could make the character limit longer in YouTube for you, so you wouldn't even have to go into the Discord. They treat everything like it needs us to exist. Games like Marvel Rivals don't need people who don't like live service games to like the games. It's totally not DEI, it's me EI. Not sure who said that, but I love it. I said that. That's original to me. What, is that getting circulated? Are people starting to say that? I said that. I said people aren't angry about DEI. They want me EI. They want every game built for them and appeal to them. They want every character to look in the way that they think that they should look. And it's like, I'm glad that they're not listening to you. That would be a very boring world. Like, yay, I can't wait to play another game with a half-naked woman or a white guy with a beard. Like, yay. Like, I can't wait. What's your outlook on Fragpunk Rising on Steam? For me, I haven't seen any of the really cool cards from the trailers of the actual game. Well, here's the thing. What's the numbers? What's the numbers? Because I remember telling you guys before it came out, I said that I thought Fragpunk looked better than Overwatch. Than Concord. I wouldn't be cashing any checks yet. 100,000 peak on Steam is fine. That's good. But I wouldn't be making any predictions just yet. There's nothing here earth-shattering in my book. I mean, whoops, that's the wrong thing. There we go. This is fine. I think this is fine. Right? There's nothing wrong here. But I don't think this is like, yep, we got another hit on our hands. I mean, I said before it came out, I thought Fragpunk looked better than Concord. I remember saying, I was like, I think Fragpunk looks more fun. Put that in your false narrative, I'm a pony pipe, and try to smoke it. Whenever all that happened, I was like, and Fragpunk was in the Xbox showcase, and people were celebrating it for Xbox. And I was like, I think Fragpunk looks better. It looks more fun. It looks like something that people would, actually play. Unlike Concord, I was like, who's going to play this? Is PlayStation done with free-to-play games? I don't know. I don't know if Helldivers gave them a little bit of hubris. Like, well, all we need to do, all we need to do is make another game that's 40 and hopefully it sells as well as Helldivers. Like, Helldivers did so well, I think they taste that money and they're like, well, we want our live service games to be at 40 because if they flop, no worries, shut it down. If it takes off and it soars like Helldivers, we make a bunch of money. Personally, I think it's beyond me, EI, DEI. Even Death Stranding 2 has not been able to escape this kind of conversation. It's exhausting. I think everybody should do an experiment. I think you should do an experiment. I think you should take 1 week off from Twitter, right? Take 1 week off from Twitter. Only watch trailers. You're not allowed to watch. If you see a video that's like negative, complaining, or like salty about something, don't watch it. And just see if your mood changes on all of this. I really do think so much of this, it's like one little Thunderdome of yelling, and the minute you're not in that Thunderdome, it's like, I think the gaming world at large is just still excited about games and playing games. Do you know what I'm saying? That's my secret, Cap. I take every week off from Twitter. Like, so much of this, it's on Twitter. Like, you see these guys, as an example. Let's just take the Split Fiction thing as an example. I've seen a handful of tweets from a guy, and he's just raging at Split Fiction and calling it all these terrible things and talking about what real men should do. I tell you what real men shouldn't be doing. They shouldn't be malding and seething on Twitter about a video game because it's got girls in it. That doesn't seem like something a real man would do. It doesn't seem very masculine, right? But the minute you see it for what it is, it's manufactured to get clicks and people yelling. So there was a skit of a guy who, he's in a room, he's in like a bedroom, and he's got all these laptops, and he's talking about how much energy he can get people to waste by saying things designed to upset them. That's what he does. The whole skit, he's just typing things. He like goes to an astrophysicist and he's like, yeah, that's not actually how space works. Read a book. Well, what do you think that tweet does? It's like this, the skit is so on the nose. It's like, well, everybody's going to waste their afternoon, their energy, their lunch break correcting a guy who knows that he's wrong. He knows that he's wrong. This guy seething and malding about Split Fiction, he knows what he's saying is stupid and ignorant, but he knows all day long his tweet's gonna hum in the algorithm because everybody's gonna be yelling at him or agreeing with him. Like, do you see what I'm saying? You've got to start to see it for what it is. Stop letting it affect your view of things. Stop letting it affect your view of the gaming world. Twitter isn't real. It isn't. It's a machine that runs on polarization. That's what it runs on. I promise you. I promise you, if that is so unbelievably offensive, you're done here. Oh my gosh. Like, listen, if you're going to take a week off from Twitter you wouldn't know any of this was going on. And I mean, obviously, if you watch my show and I make reference to it, you know what was going on. And I would hope that I would bring you an element of sanity in the storm. Like, I'm trying to give people a sense of sanity in the storm. Like, just watch the trailers and come here and we'll talk about how excited we are. You could have come here and watched my Split Fiction review, watch my wife play it, hear me talk about playing it with my son, and you'd be like, man, Split Fiction must be pretty great. I'm going to check it out. Instead of being like, there's some guy on Twitter, they're basically, they're worse than smear merchants. Like, they're emotional vampires. That's what they are. They are emotional vampires. They want to drain you of your emotion. By the end of the day, you're just worn out. You're yelling at some guy, you're arguing with some person, you're going back and forth, and it's just like that skit where the guy says to the astrophysicist, that's not really how space works, read a book. He literally does it to just drain that person of their energy and their emotion. At the end of the day, anybody who wasted a second talking to that guy, you are literally doing nothing. You're arguing with the wall. You're arguing with the wall. They don't care. They don't care. Their currency is only in saying something as ridiculous as possible to generate interactivity. So if you see that kind of narrative and that kind of commentary, what I would do, I would just mute those accounts and move on, right? Because somebody said the other day, they're like, oh, I don't know how. I'm glad Twitter's down. I'm glad Twitter's down. Homie, I scroll through my feed and all I see is news. I see a report. I see an interview. Now, obviously, I expressed my frustration yesterday and today about people who false frame. Outlets, they're not journalists, right? Outlets and bloggers and people who false frame the news, and then we have to deal with, we have to correct it, right? But I'm not seeing the trolls. I'm not seeing the only reason I saw the guy on the Split Fiction thing is because somebody screenshot it and was making fun of it, which is probably the best course of action. Just make fun of these guys. You think Split Fiction potentially wins Game of the Year this year? Oh, I think Split Fiction gets a Game of the Year nomination, but I don't know if anything's going to be able to stand up against Death Stranding 2. The SNL skit's an accurate depiction of Astro Cyborg. That's what I thought, FCat. I was like, that's literally what he does every day. That's his goal. It's like, I'm just going to sit here and try and make people angry. You know, I'm just going to hurl hate at somebody that I don't like. It's just like, okay. You don't even need to argue. Sometimes just the reading of it is enough. I'm compromised? I'm not sure what you mean. You're compromised because you stay on, what do you stay on Twitter? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Here's a gaming journalist who thinks like us and isn't sold out to publishers. Well done, bravo. I removed Twitter, Reddit, and now I have so much time. Well, again, if you feel like me every time I look at the most played game charts on PlayStation and Xbox, you share far more in common than you have difference. Fans of plastic video game boxes, let us come together and lead the way towards a better tomorrow. Matt Piscatella. Mash, you're clearly fraternizing in the wrong pools. What did Mash say? I don't know where you are meeting these Xbox people. The majority I interact with are reasonable. Same with the people on PlayStation. I really do. I really do think that crowd that's doing that, I do. I think you take the wind out of their sails. I think you take the wind out of the room if you just stop engaging with it. You just do. One of the greatest things the online gaming community could do right now is stop giving it attention. Just stop giving it attention. Correct it right? I retweeted a guy today who did an excellent job. I retweeted him. I said cooked to perfection, because people are angry about Deborah Wilson being in like every game, right? And I thought he did such an excellent job. He just did such an excellent job. And it's like, if you want to calmly correct, I think that's fine. I don't think you spend a bunch of time going back and forth. I think calm correction is needed at times. You have to distinguish the difference between calm and factual correction and engaging in a fight that's pointless, like going back and forth with them. Say your piece and move on, you know. Show the tweet, show the position, show the inaccuracy, and then move on. Don't go back and forth with somebody that's just trying to pull you into an endless and fruitless debate. It was so bad for you. I watched Witch Queen Deborah Wilson. It's so good as Savathun. You don't need to feel bad for me, dude. I don't have an ounce of care about that game anymore. I don't miss it at all. I'm not like, oh, I wonder what happened. I just don't care. You can stop engaging with it, Lona, but the issue is the sane, healthy people you follow will still engage with it. So that stuff still finds its way into your feed. You see them reply. Yeah, it is tricky, Maloon. It is. I was talking about this morning in Morning Coffee. I don't know how to handle this, but I think there is room in this space for, calm, intellectual debunking of falsehood without it turning into, hateful or targeting or mean, But at the same time, it's so difficult. It feels like such a trap, because I'm advocating for not engaging, but at the same time, you got to engage to some degree. It feels like such a trap. It's like, if I don't engage, if I don't correct this falsehood, it just gets to sit there and fester. But if I engage and I retweet or quote tweet or reply, I'm giving them what they want. They're getting engagement. There is a total manipulative effort right now where you will say something false knowing that the correction is just as good as any other interaction you could get. Oh, you're wrong. Oh, you're framing that incorrectly. Oh, that you're kind of and they'll take it. They'll take all the engagement. I think they roll the dice and they're like, well, if I get community noted, I get community noted. Community notes are super inconsistent. I saw numerous, posts about FSR4 and PSSR that should have been community noted. It's like, what you're saying is factually incorrect. You're misleading the public. Did we already talk about the TLU 3 update? So a reliable insider who gets really, really accurate information on TV and movie industry, he has said, I paid $5 to get access to his Patreon so I could see what he said. He said he knows for a fact that they've already done casting and filmed scenes for the third game. Some people thought maybe he was talking about the third season because he mainly gets info on TV shows and movies. He specifically said third game. He did. Brett says, if you've ever raised children, you would know that battling a toddler throwing a tantrum accomplishes nothing. Right, but at some point you have to speak calm in the storm. You can't just say nothing. Right? You're just always, I'm always coming back to the principle of don't answer a fool according to his folly, lest you become a fool yourself. And then very next, answer a fool according to his folly, lest he be wise in his own eyes. It's like discerning the difference is incredibly difficult. It just is. It's like, how do you slice that in this environment? How do we do this in a productive way? Do I pull up a tweet and hide who it is and just say, all right, here's something that was said. This is not true and here's why. Let's break this down from a factual perspective. You're not their parents. It's an analogy, 187. The analogy is not saying their parents. If you can't understand analogy, don't try to correct it. You calmly handle the situation, but you don't get into the weeds. Secondhand toxicity, it drives me nuts. For sure. I had to unfollow somebody because that's all they did. That's literally all they did. They would screenshot the anti-wokies and make fun of them. And I'm like, I don't want to see their stuff. And I just had to unfollow them. I'm like, that's your feed every day. Okay. All right. Satya Nadella, you're clearly kidding around, right? And a 20 bomb from MASH. He says the gaming community should grow here. And he gets us to 242, right on the cusp of 250. My point is they won't listen anyway. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, here's the thing. Yeah, don't get this twisted. I think this is really important, 187. I'm not trying to control or get concession. I firmly know and believe none of these people will post retractions or corrections. They don't have the character and the integrity for that. They don't. They don't. They're bought and paid for, brother, with access. They're bought and paid for. They're not getting a check, but they're bought and paid for with access. They don't want to lose their access. If that portcullis comes down, that hurts their paycheck. That hurts their livelihood. That hurts their opportunities. Do you understand? You're not going to get a retraction or correction from these people. It's about everybody else that's watching. It's about everybody else that's watching. Like, hey, what this person just said isn't true. Here's the actual article. Here's the actual quote. And you hope that thousands of people are going to see theirs, and you hope that thousands of people see yours and say, oh, that's not true. And a gifted comes in from Satya, the whole slate, Nadella, and gets us to 243. Thank you so much. There's a watching world. There's a public. There's people. There's people on Twitter. There's people on YouTube, and it's like, you'll pay it forward. Thank you for paying it forward. Guys, if you're on an iPhone or an Android, they have added an upgrade button. Make sure you're on the latest version of the app. If you go to my channel and you slide over to the members tab, there should be an upgrade button there. We're trying to get people to upgrade to Member Plus, and I think they just made it easier. So we've got a post here from Jack, who is the SVP and GM of Computing and Graphics at AMD. Let's just read what he has to say about FSR4, okay? FSR4 is here. We listened and built it for you. After countless hours of innovation and collaboration, including our exciting co-development with Sony Interactive Entertainment on the models used for the FSR4 upscaler, we're proud to collaborate with PlayStation on Project Amethyst. Reviews are clear, sharper, faster, and more immersive than ever. FSR4 lets gamers maximize performance while delivering incredible visuals and blazing fast speed. AMD's first advanced machine learning technology for gaming is now integrated with FSR4 because gaming isn't just about winning, it's about those unforgettable moments. The perfect explosion, the sunset you couldn't look away from, the final boss fight that you swore you'd never conquer. Your game, your moments, supercharged, okay? And Phil McCook comes in with the 5 bomb. Thank you so much. And that gets us to 248. We're 2 away. So, once again, the facts are the facts. FSR4 is the result of Project Amethyst. Again, anybody trying to downplay this and act like FSR4 is replacing PSSR or PSSR was a failure, PSSR is quite literally part of the equation and catalyst that led to FSR4's existence. FSR4 is backported, right? Just stick to the facts. Just stick to the facts. That guy's literally saying, like, yeah, this is because of our joint venture with Sony. That's exactly the read here. The read is not that one's better than the other. Did Lionel really just say Phil McCook? That's his username. He made that his name. You know, he couldn't get me to say, Oxmall anymore, so he's taking a different approach. Guys, if you haven't hit and subscribe this morning, please do so. Get us to 300 likes as well. Make sure you do that ritual. Anytime you come into the stream, smash the like button. Launching into PlayStation Plus Premium this month is PSVR 2 retro-fueled arcade paradise VR, as well as 3 From Software classics. Oh, another PSVR 2 game. Digital Foundry confirmed the false claims yesterday. I'm not sure. What are you specifically referring to, Deadeye Survivor? You got to flesh that out for me. I feel that the leaks about Intergalactic might be true according to what Neil has said about the game. Shogun, what leaks are you referring to? Why are we reforging video games? To make PSSR top tier? Marshall, I'm not sure. Again, I'm not sure. I'm having to ask a lot of you guys qualifying questions. I don't understand what you mean. Are you saying that they're trying to make it top tier, or I'm trying to make it top tier? What are you insinuating, that I'm saying something that I'm not, or are you saying that PlayStation's trying to improve it? Because that's exactly what Cerny said. That their goal is to evolve it and improve it over time, and that's going to be because of their relationship with AMD. I really do feel like we are at this tipping point in this space where I really do feel that we can carve out a really good path for gamers to come and get accurate information, debunk the lies, falsify the false claims, and give people the truth. Enough of the astroturfing and the obfuscation. Enough. I'm over it. And listen, the response, I put another video up this morning. I said there is a clear consistency here. I said, look at all the people misrepresenting FSR4 and PSSR. It's all the same people who've been astroturfing for Xbox. Gee, I wonder why they're misrepresenting the situation and what Mark Cerny said. Because they're not interested in the truth. Yeah, I saw what Seeds posted about the Doom previews. And a 5 bomb from Siege Master gets us to 253. And I owe you guys a 10 bomb right now. I owe you a 10 bomb. I'll wait and do a 20 maybe. Let's see if we can get to 300 really quickly. I had a guy who loves Astrobot, and he could clearly see the difference between the PS5 Slow and the Pro. Much better picture quality, he said. For me, it's a simple update sold as revolutionary. Who's selling it as revolutionary? You think my video is saying that it's revolutionary? That's not what I said. So if you think I'm selling it as revolutionary, you misunderstand my position as well as my video. Who is selling it as revolutionary? Who? In its current state, is it revolutionary? I don't think so. I don't think I've seen anybody claim that in its current state it's revolutionary. I think it's casting a trajectory for game development, game hardware, and consoles that is very good for the consumer. I don't think that's revolutionary. I think it's game-changing. I'm like, revolutionary would be like, oh, we're entering a revolution, a completely new and insane time. It's like, no, this is more of an evolution than a revolution. It's like they're evolving what a console can be. They're saying, listen, we can create an environment where instead of making a static box that for 7 to 8 years devs have to figure out how to get the most out of, no, we're going to make a box that evolves with the market so that devs always have a better version of something to work with. Like, to me, again, that's not revolutionary, but that's game-changing. I think saying game-changing and evolution, I think those are synonymous enough that I'm being fair in my vocabulary. I don't think I'm trying to, like, overhype it. I think people get triggered when they see anything positive about the team that they don't like. So they see me say it's game-changing, and they're furious that I'm saying that. You should see the comments on the tweet. It's absurd. It's like people are in their feelings about this. It's technology. It's technology. It's metal and plastic, mate. What are you doing? Jack, SVP of AMD, posted about the work of PlayStation and AMD on FSR4 about an hour ago. Even more proof that they're working together on the tech. Yeah, and people will just look the other way or they'll misinterpret what he says. A Ubisoft shareholder claims that the company failed to disclose meetings with EA and Microsoft about IP acquisition. Ooh. That's bad. The PS5 Pro is the first of its kind. I love supporting awesome inventions. PSSR is amazing, no doubt. A 7-month renewal from Spice King, and that bumps the line because it's a member plus. The PS5 Pro, an improved version of the PS5, now with its very own upscaler pisser, advanced stream tracing, and a more powerful pisser. Yeah, thank you so much, Spice King. I'm not going to say that word that many times that quickly. And that gets us to 254. We are one away from 255. 255 is really nice bait. Really nice bait. We'll see if any of the big boys are here today. You guys like to set those up. Let's see if they'll knock them down. Let's see. Let us see if they will. And thank you to everybody who's been hitting subscribe as well as like. Make sure your like saved, right? Make sure your like saved. We're trying to get to 300. And a 5-bomb comes in from Peachy Creamy and gets us to 259. He says, forget your 255. We're going for 259. Thank you very much. Going to be in town next week. We'll hit you up this evening. Yeah. Okay, do it. Let me look at next week, what we're looking at. Gonna be, we'll have to pick a specific night. I've got a couple of things, not much, but just a couple of things. Rockin' Robin gifts one member to balance the scales to 260. Nice and round. Thank you very much. And a single comes in from Haseo. A little member train all of a sudden. This is what we do here. And we have been calling on folks to pick up their own membership. There's usually about 2,000 to 3,000 of you that are blessed with a gifted membership from me, as well as a bunch of the people here. And we really are calling on you to support the channel directly to make room for others. We're at 604. The next milestone of 700 people paying for their own memberships is what we're gunning for. Text you, my schedule's flex on coming down so we can figure it out. Okay, yeah, that'd be awesome. Let's do it. Ubisoft shareholder. Yeah, I just read that, Maloon. That's interesting, no? Yeah, I saw some people saying that they were like hoping that like Microsoft would buy Assassin's Creed. Buying IP would, I'll be honest with you, that's the last thing I want Microsoft doing, because I think that their quality is so dadgum inconsistent. I don't want Xbox to own any more IP. The last thing we want is more of the Microsoft reach to grab and harm IPs that like I don't feel like their studios have been consistent at all. Now in 3 years, I hope I'm saying, hey, they've really turned it around. Their studios are really cranking out high quality games. But the last thing I want right now is for Microsoft to be like, yeah, we own Assassin's Creed now. Great. Who are you going to hand it to? Some other company that you're brutalizing with a terrible contract policy? Like, Microsoft has enough. I think PlayStation Studios should buy it. I would not want PlayStation Studios to just buy the Assassin's Creed IP. I would want PlayStation Studios to get... I would want them to get the studios that work on it. Right? Furious Pickle upgraded to Member Plus, and that gets us to 263. I count that as a double. Anytime you guys upgrade, I count it as a double. Make sure your make sure your iPhone app is updated. That upgrade button's there now for lots of people. This will get clipped for sure. I don't give a frick. I'm consistent on this. I don't think Microsoft is good for creative process. They could buy the studio also. Yeah, I don't want Microsoft to own any of those studios. I think Microsoft is destructive to gaming and creative work. I think they're bad for it. I think they harm studios. I think they drive creative directors and directors away because of their policies. I'm not talking about Xbox. I am talking about Microsoft. The Bleed Green guys just won't talk about this, and I think that they should. If you really care about the brand and you really care about Xbox, you should be talking about how Microsoft damages the studios. They're bad for creative work. I would never want Assassin's Creed and those studios suddenly owned by Microsoft. I wouldn't. They'd lay a bunch of people off to get operating costs under control. They'd get a bunch of people on contracts, and then you'd have people walking out the door every 18 months, just like it happened with Halo Infinite. No, I don't want Microsoft to own any more property or any more studios. I think they're so bad for gaming. Not Xbox, Microsoft. Microsoft is bad for gaming. They are. They'll have a studio crank out something like Hi-Fi Rush and then shut the studio down. Like, you really want that company owning Assassin's Creed? You really want that company owning more studios? You only want them to own more studios because you cheer for the brand, not because you've done any analysis of what they actually bring to the market with respect to quality. It's like, it has nothing to do with that. It's because you want your brand to have more points. I want good games, and I want studios to flourish, and I don't think studios flourish under Microsoft's ownership. They don't. They're constantly losing creative directors and directors. And the autopsy on Halo should be just an absolute, just foreboding story. That's Halo. If Microsoft was willing to do that with Halo, what the frick do you think they're going to do with everything else? They were willing to let the studio working on their brand ambassador, their icon, they let that studio get eviscerated by a contract policy that has nothing to do with the gaming world. It comes from Microsoft. It's terrible. Somebody asked me yesterday, they're like, if you were in charge, what would you do? I was like, the first thing I would do is get rid of that policy. I think it would fix so much of their problems. You wouldn't be constantly losing creative directors and directors, because how is a creative director supposed to be a creative director if they're constantly having staff leave because you got a terrible policy because you don't want to pay people health benefits? That's the company you guys cheer for, by the way. But exclusives are bad and anti-consumer. Let's make sure and bang on that drum. Exclusives are bad, they're anti-consumer, rah-rah ABK deal, you know, but then you're just totally fine with property and studios getting eviscerated by a Microsoft corporate policy that's designed to not pay people benefits. I'm so glad you're cheering for that corporation out here on Main Street. We're so glad you're shaking your pom-pom and your tail feathers for them. Like, Jiminy Christmas. Why would you want them to own anything right now? So many of the people that cheered for the ABK deal changed their mind after the fact, and you want them to buy more? Dipped out, came back to a rant. If people are going to start cheering for that, I've got news for you. I'm on the complete other side. There's not a single piece of property or a single studio that I want sucked up by Microsoft ever again. If they change, I tell you this, if they would change their policy on that contract thing, and they would let contract workers stay for the duration of the project, okay, I would be a little bit different on this, because I'm like, Microsoft's got deep pockets. They can bankroll an awful lot of games. They can bankroll an awful lot of marketing, right? Again, the concern would be Microsoft's business philosophy is very utilitarian. They're very tool-driven. And my concern would be they're going to just continue to treat games in that way. Get it out, fix it later, right? Look what they've done with their property. Get it out, we'll fix it later. Get it out, we'll fix it later. That's how you treat Office. That's how they treat Windows. Sounds like someone does not understand consolidation and competition, and shittification and choke point capitalism. Oh, people cheering for them to buy more? Yeah. It would be. It's not something that I would want to see. The only reason I would be okay with PlayStation buying AC and buying the studios is because they have a track record of fostering and helping those studios grow. Clip it and call me a pony because you lie about me. I don't care. That's true. PlayStation has a much better track record of fostering these relationships and growing the studio, whether it's Insomniac, Guerrilla, Santa Monica, Naughty Dog. Look at the caliber of games these studios release. Look at the number of award nominations. Look at the growth of the studios. Look at the reinvestment. Bungie, Concord. Paul, you've been on such a smart wavelength. Why would you say something so silly? You think that Bungie and Concord are examples of them fostering and growing a relationship? Do you have any idea how large of a false equivalency that is? That's such a false equivalency. It's a, oh my gosh, like you're comparing a fish to a tree branch. They're not, what? They don't even have control over Bungie yet. They're trying to absorb Bungie is what it seems like. And Concord is 100% on Herman Hulst. It's 100% on Herman Hulst for thinking they had some kind of a winner there. But they didn't foster some great relationship with Firewalk. They bought them. The game was already in dev. It came out and it flopped. That's not an indictment of all of the other things they've done. Because they bought Firewalk and the game flopped, you're going to hang that on their head? I've never once hung Redfall on Microsoft's head. Well, I've said they should have canceled it. But Redfall, being in the state that it was in, was ZeniMax's fault. I've always said that. It's like that game was already in production. Shouldn't have been in production. It was pushed by ZeniMax because they wanted a multiplayer game. They wanted a live service game. That's ZeniMax's fault. That's not Microsoft's fault. Firewalk working on Concord, convincing Herman Hulst it was some amazing game, and it flopping. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when they buy something and they foster it and they grow it and then the studio grows. Look at what happens. You get Guerrilla, you get Insomniac, you get Housemarque, you get Santa Monica, you get Naughty Dog, you get Sucker Punch. You want to use Firewalk and Concord as like a repudiation of that? There's a laundry list of creative directors that have left Xbox Game Studios, and then all you got to do is look at Halo. Look at Halo. Like, that's your brand ambassador, and you let the thing get completely mistreated. Now, if PlayStation started doing that with God of War, if they started doing that with Naughty Dog property, you'd have an argument. If they started just destroying their brand ambassadors, you'd have an equivalency. They haven't done that. Bungie's not even operating within a first-party studio process, and Destiny's been in existence for 10 years. I'm saying they need to be careful going forward with dollars spent. I don't disagree with you, but what I'm saying is, think about what I'm saying. Assassin's Creed is an established franchise. You have an established studio with a track record of making what I consider to be perfectly very good games. Perfectly very good. I think they're perfectly good. That's terrible. That sentence is awful. I think they're good games. They're solid games. Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla. I think they're making good games. I think those games they have done well for a reason. Now, your long-standing fans don't like them. Who gives a frick? They were commercially successful, and they were praised. So who cares if like people want to be like, not my Assassin's Creed? Well, okay, fine. I enjoyed them. So that's an established IP, and buying that and the studio to foster it and grow it, that's something that PlayStation has a very good track record of doing. Firewalk and Concord is not that. It's not an established IP, wasn't a proven concept, wasn't a proven studio. It was a live service game that flopped. That's completely and utterly different. Contrast that to what Xbox has been doing. An established IP, your brand ambassador Halo, and you let your corporate policy destroy the infrastructure of 343, and they crap out a game that's not ready at launch, the multiplayer's in a beta, they can't make changes quickly, and the game slowly bleeds out and dies over the course of a couple of years. Do you see? It's like, if they're going to treat Halo that way, do you honestly want that company buying Assassin's Creed and the studios that work on it? I would never want Xbox doing that. Never. They have a much longer history of buying property and buying studios and causing clear, measurable damage. It's just like, how can you not look at like what they did to Halo and then look at what happened with Hi-Fi Rush's studio? You want that company to own more? I would not argue against AC and Sony. They already have a dev who created the IP, Jade Raymond. Do they buy AC and take it off of Xbox and PC? That's the question. Oh, yes. 100%. If they all of a sudden owned AC, it'd be an exclusive. Look at the game. It just feels like a PlayStation game. Third person, action, adventure, stealth. Like, come on. They would 100% make AC an exclusive. They wouldn't hesitate. They wouldn't. They'd come to PC later, just like all the other games are coming to PC later. But I don't think that they would 100% lock that down as an exclusive. Then I say no way. We're choosing the lesser of three evils. Ubisoft goes under and the property goes nowhere. Xbox buys it and buys the studio, and I think their handling of property and studios is terrible. Or PlayStation buys it and makes it an exclusive. I'm going to choose the lesser of three evils. I don't want Assassin's Creed to go away. I certainly don't want Xbox to own it because I think Microsoft is who I'm talking about here. My concern with Jade is that she has not really shipped a game since she left Ubisoft except as like an executive producer credit. I think the jury is out on whether she still has the stuff. They won't make AC exclusive, but what they can do is make a DLC PlayStation exclusive. Oh, if they... Listen, I would firmly bet and believe, I would, that if PlayStation suddenly owned Assassin's Creed and the studios working on it, they would make it exclusive. They wouldn't hesitate. They wouldn't. It's their kind of game. I mean, look at Tsushima. I mean, come on. Like, look at Tsushima and Forbidden West, and God of War not so much. But like, look at Tsushima and Forbidden West. Like, it's right up their alley. It's their kind of game. 21 months from Enjoy. If AC Shadows is a hit, do you think Ubisoft would still sell AC as a franchise? I think they're hoping it's a hit so they can get more money for the franchise. Alapark says, the differences between those examples is that Sony had some history with the majority of those studios before purchasing. Firewalk Concord is what happens when Sony rushes those relationships. I completely agree with you. I think they learned a really valuable lesson. You guys completely broke from your pattern and bought a studio and backed a game, and there was no prior relationship there. Like, what? I really do. I think Herman Holst, he got blinded by, oh wow, these guys are the guys that made Destiny. Some of these guys have got PvP chops, and I think he salivated at the idea of we could make some great money here with a live service hero shooter. And I think his critical thinking went right out the door. It went right out the door. He thought that game was going to be a hit, and it was just like, buddy, no. From here on out, he picks up the phone and says, Bungie, take a look at this game. Herman's lost the right to judge whether or not a live service game can be successful. You got to hand that to the people that know what they're doing, and it's not him. That cannot be in his job description any longer. Not after Concord. And I think the main reason that PlayStation has no problem continuing to back live services, they know if they get another hit, like Helldivers 2, they're going to make a ton of money. The PlayStation Plus catalog for March includes UFC 5, Prince of Persia: Lost Crown. Listen, y'all, listen. If you're on PS Plus and can get these games, Prince of Persia and the Lost Crown is one of the best Metroidvanias I've ever played. It's up there with both of the Ori games. It is excellent. It is absolutely excellent. And there's DLC and all kinds of extra content now. It is so good. If you're on PS Plus and haven't played that game, check that one out. They should have bought Arrowhead. I actually like PlayStation's approach to not buying studios, but securing publishing deals. I think that's a better use of the money. Live service are backed and initiated by the investors, Shuhei said. Yeah, the executives want the live service dollars. They do. And again, I think Herman Holst, buddy, he saw the quality. Because, like, Concord was a well-built game in Unreal. It ran well. It didn't have glitches. It didn't have bugs. He saw something that looked very polished, and he didn't consider the fact that, like, there's no demand for it in the market. It just looked really nice. it would be like making a really, really great looking Quake right now. You can make an amazing looking Quake 7, whatever number we're up to. You know, Quake 5 Arena, and it could look incredible. It doesn't mean that there's demand in the market for it. It's like, yeah, that looks amazing. No one's going to play it. I started Returnal again after hating it for the first time, really liking it now. Finally beat Frike, or whatever the name is. First boss is Frike. Yeah. I'm glad that I got a bunch of people to dive back into Returnal, and I'm glad that most of you are reporting that you're having a good time. Publishing deals are better, no strings attached, just a strong partnership. Save money from buying a studio. That's exactly right, Alex. Like, let me show you the list. There's a reason that PlayStation has announced and is publishing more games than Xbox, because they didn't spend $100 billion on acquisitions. They can make their money go a whole lot farther. They can make their money go a whole lot farther. This, to me, is a far more effective strategy. Hang on, let me zoom in for you. Is that control? That's control. This list: Yote, Intergalactic, Death Stranding 2, MLB The Show, Saros, Wolverine, Lost Soul Aside, Phantom Blade Zero, Marathon, Fair Games, Fizzant, Convaleria, Exilage, Daba, Awaken, Willless, The Winds Rising, AI Limit, The Godslayer, Ran Lost Islands, Unending Dawn, Brocade, Lolan, Loco, Bloody Boots, Meteora, Fishbowl, Mukti, Suri, Requital, and Midnight Murder Club. These are all, I think we have to actually take Awaken Astral Blade off. It's actually come out, so we have to take that one off. This is basically like 30 games that they either own the studio and the IP or they're publishing it, okay? Xbox's list is shorter, and that's fine. I'm not saying you need to have like 50 games announced, but this seems more effective. These are games that Microsoft either owns and or are publishing. Fable, Perfect Dark, State of Decay, Clockwork Revolution, Everwild, Gears of War, E-Day, OD, Doom the Dark Ages, South of Midnight, Outer Worlds 2, Ninja Gaiden 4, Towerborn, Blade, Next Mainline, Halo, Contraband, Elder Scrolls 6, Call of Duty 2025. So if we're comparing strategies, I think you're getting a more effective strategy from PlayStation. They're like, we're going to invest in publishing and bringing games to market, empowering more studios to bring games to the market, instead of spending $100 billion acquiring a bunch of studios. Can you imagine what Xbox could have done with $100 billion if they would have entered into partnership deals and publishing deals instead? If they would have primarily focused on distribution and production of the Series X, didn't do the Series S, empowered, I don't know, maybe actually pay people benefits and don't kick your contract workers out the door every 18 months, and maybe 343 and Halo would have been in a better state. But you see what I'm saying? It's like, one is spending money more effectively in my mind. It's like, you're bringing more games to market. You're empowering more devs to flourish instead of doing $100 billion in acquisition, and then you shut down Arcane Austin, you shut down this team that behind Hi-Fi Rush. Come on, why would you want that company to buy Assassin's Creed or any studios that are building Assassin's Creed? Listen. I'm here to tell you. These people are not consistent. If it's all about the games and who has more games, you're going to ignore this list. You're going to ignore the fact that PlayStation's bringing more games to market somehow. You missed Tony Hawk 3 and 4? Who's publishing that? I'll add it to the list. Tony Hawk 3 and 4 publisher. Is that an Xbox published game? Hang on. It's saying published by Activision, so that's Xbox, right? Why would they say published by Activision? Developed by Iron Galaxy? Hang on, I'll add it to the list. We'll obviously have to add games and remove them once they come out. The point of this list is not everything that's come out. The point of the list is things that are coming, things that have been announced, things that are being published. Tony Hawk 3 and 4. There we go. I added it to the list. That's a remaster? Oh, we're not counting remasters because I didn't put the Days Gone remaster on. I was only doing Yeah, I was only doing new games. Yeah, to make it clear, we're not including remasters. I think it's clear to not include them. You start including remasters and it feels like you're trying to pad the list. People are like, well, PlayStation only does remasters. So it's like, I'm not putting any remasters on the list because it just muddies the waters. It's like, no, these are new games. These are published new games announced by both platforms. And the company with less money is publishing and bringing more games according to the roadmaps, right? Roadmaps matter. Super Googly with the super chat says, Sony has closed Japan Studios, which went on to make Astrobot. All the Yanks who were calling the shots produced our beloved Concord. Huh? What are you talking about, Googly? They closed the studio that made Astrobot? What? Rumored Xbox handheld, also rumored to become a PlayStation handheld. Team Asobi was made up of folks from Japan Studios. Oh, he's saying before Astrobot, they closed down a studio, and those people formed Team Asobi, is what you're saying. The Japan studio was absorbed into Team Asobi before they made Astrobot. Yeah, I think you're really, really setting that up to be a very strange comparison. You're acting like, well, you're trying to do the East versus West thing, I guess. Okay. All right. Japan studio was shut down in 2021. Yeah, I mean, we would need to go back and look at the details of why they closed down. Like when I cite the Hi-Fi Rush studio getting closed down, Arcane Austin getting closed down, 1,900 people at ABK getting laid off, those are all the ramifications of an acquisition of that size. That's not equal to, well, 4 years ago, they closed Japan Studios. Well, we would need the details as to why. What was going on? How large was the team? What had they been making? Did they was it basically unavoidable? Had they not been making anything? We would need to know the details. That's not the same as acquisition leading to downsizing and layoffs. This, again, is where we get lost in the weeds of just like fanboyism and tribalism. People don't understand what false equivalencies are, so they're just like, well, Sony's laid people off and Sony shut studios down. Not even remotely to the magnitude that Microsoft has, and much of those were literally from Xbox and Microsoft doing it with ABK. It was a direct result of the acquisition, and they're probably not done yet. Japan Studios wasn't selling games; it was rights to it was the right move to close them. Yeah, again, PlayStation has a better track record here. Look at what they're doing with Bungie. They're absorbing talent rather than letting it walk out the door. Like Xbox couldn't find places for the people who worked on Hi-Fi Rush to work. You didn't want to absorb all that talent? PlayStation's like, we bought Bungie, and Pete Parsons made terrible decisions prior to the acquisition. It leads to Bungie running in the red. They have to lay people off. And PlayStation's like, we're going to absorb as many people we can into SIE. Why? Because they value talent. Like, this is why you don't want one team buying versus the other. It's like, look at what they do. Look at what their priorities are. Look at how they foster and appreciate and recognize talent. You can be really angry at Bungie and act like Bungie's trash. They're not letting veterans in the industry walk out the door. They're trying to absorb as many people as they can. That's when you get, I'm telling you, when you do acquisitions to that size, that's not even a reasonable expectation. They're not going to be able to do it. You can't absorb all those people. Why? Because you're trying to get ROI on the spend. You got shareholders that are like, hey man, we need some big returns here. So you're putting yourself into a position where you can't do that. You can't prize the talent. You're beholden to the bottom line at that point. It's like, no, we got to shut these studios down. We have got to get operating costs as low as we conceivably can. which is why they're likely not done, which is why the last thing you would want to do in the wake of the ABK acquisition, the last thing you would want to do is cheer for Microsoft to buy more studios and to buy more property. That is absolutely not in the interest of the consumer. And thank you for upgrading to Member Plus. Somebody else did it. We're at 605 now. Despite being owned by Microsoft, Activision Blizzard retains its identity as a publisher, continuing to develop and distribute games. Oh, so are people having a debate about whether or not that's an Xbox game, an Xbox first party? I'm sure there are people debating that. I don't really care. If the money's coming from that side, then they're publishing it. Perfect Image was 17 months. Despite shutting down award-winning studios, PlayStation still prioritizes first-party games, timed exclusives, and third-party support. PlayStation cares. Visuals. Oh, you're just clarifying. Okay. I'm sure, though, because of that clarification, though, Dunarino, I'm sure people are debating whether or not that can be considered first-party. I would consider it first-party. It's coming from that side. It's coming from that team. They're the ones publishing it. Xbox did a little bit with that with Arcane when they closed the Redfall studio. Not the same amount, but they did it a little bit. I mean, and that should be applauded, but at the same time, so let's just make this clear. I'm not trying to villainize them. I'm saying when I study the pattern, I think Microsoft is the last company that I would want buying more IPs and more IPs and more studios. I wouldn't want them to own any more. I wouldn't. And I'll tell you why. Because Satya and the shareholders are going to look at everything and say, okay, how many people are working at these studios on these Assassin's Creed games? How many of them can we live without? How quickly can we get a return on the next game? Right? When they bought ABK, I have a contact that knows somebody that works there, and they basically, when they did a lot of the layoffs, they were primarily targeting full-time employees. Gee, I wonder why. They don't like paying benefits, so they're going to try and get more people on contracts and get rid of the full-timers so that they can lower operating costs. It's a great way to lower your operating costs. You get rid of the full-timers, you're not paying for benefits. You get people on contracts, you're not paying for their benefits. They're leaving every 18 months. Like, I don't want companies to go through that threshing floor. I don't. You don't want that. If you just do a basic analysis of what happens to the studios purchased by that company, I don't think you can come to the conclusion that it's good. It's good for the studios and it's good for us. Like, I don't know how many of these people that cheered for the Activision Blizzard deal suddenly saying they feel like it was a mistake and it didn't yield the results they wanted to see. Why would you in like the next breath be like, oh, but it'd be great if they bought, the rights to Assassin's Creed or Splinter Cell or the devs? Like, you can get away with it if you're buying companies that make pudding, so not so much for creatives. Right. I don't know what Ubisoft's doing. I really, really don't. But if they're basically having a fire sale and they're just selling their IPs and their studios to the highest bidder, that's not. No. That's not a good scenario. Lono, was Project Mara on the list? It's a new game being made by Ninja Theory. I only put games on the list if it's been officially announced. If it's been officially announced. She's not going to hit you up, bro. Apparently, anytime you take up for anybody, that's the reason that you would. Microsoft needs to really see how they do this. Many developers have not proven to do well with the ones they had, so I'd be kind of surprised Satya keeps agreeing to do it at this point. Yeah, the concern would be, again, this is why we have to keep coming back to Microsoft in these discussions. We always have to come back to Microsoft. If Microsoft writes another check, you have to see what's behind that. Satya and the board and the shareholders are not going to be like, yeah, go ahead, that sounds great, do it again. They're going to say, well, how can we maximize return on this? And the method of maximizing return is nothing that you want to see happen. It's not. They would lay people off, they would lower production costs at the company, and they would try to spit something out as fast as they can. It's not good. Lono is a she. Yeah, Grok thinks I'm a she, apparently. Her 2019 interview shows she's passionate. Wait a minute. What interview are they referring to? Grok summarized me as it was actually really, really funny how it backfired. Her 2019 interview. Can you give me a link to that tweet? I want to see the rest of the message. What interview is Grok referring to? I don't think Microsoft or Sony would be a good fit. Would be a good fit for the AC franchise. Both Sony and Microsoft have more than enough devs and publishers in order to foster the best competition in the market. Anyone other than those should buy it. They're not referring to me as a she. You misread the tweet, Sven. It says the actress, so the antecedent to she is the actress in Death Stranding 2, often tied to DEI debates, has a solid track record in games like Cyberpunk, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Her 2019 interview shows she's passionate about gaming roles, not just a diversity hire. Yeah, I like when stuff like this backfires. This was fabulous. This is fabulous. So I retweet this. I thought this guy did a good job, cooking the stupidity surrounding Deborah Wilson being in Death Stranding 2. And this guy says, is Reforge Gaming a reputable journalist? Reforge Gaming isn't a journalist, but a gaming community and YouTube channel focused on unity and integrity. Huh. They've been around since at least 2018, emphasizing respect among gamers with strict rules against toxicity. They're more about fostering positive vibes than reporting news. It backfired. Is this guy reputable? Well, first, he's not a journalist, but he prizes integrity. Thanks, Grok. That AI couldn't be more wrong. That's right. He also happens to be incredibly tall, dark, and handsome. Oh, frick. It's talking about somebody else. Only Ubisoft can make a game with the scope of modern AC. No other publisher would devote that many studios to a single-player game. Well, I think that's probably one of the reasons that you wouldn't see them land at PlayStation. I don't think PlayStation would want to write the check that size. I don't think PlayStation could I don't think they could. Like, PlayStation could take one of the studios maybe, and that's probably it. Like, Microsoft can write the check. They can. But see, the danger here is the article seems to indicate that they were trying to buy the IP. All right? Ubisoft shareholder claims the company failed to disclose meetings with EA and Microsoft about IP acquisition. Like, this is concerning. You don't want EA and Microsoft suddenly owning the IP of AC. You just wouldn't want that. Who's going to build it? Who are you going to have build an AC game over there at Microsoft? Who? You want people that have been working on AC. You don't want some random developer or some other developer who's never made an Assassin's Creed game suddenly making an Assassin's Creed game. They'll just buy the studios. You would hope. Playground Games. Did you see the pre-alpha footage of Fable? I think all of those rumors about the Forza Tech engine and having difficulties with it, I think those rumors were true. I think that game has had a rough time getting to where it is. When did they start working on it? Oh, you were being sarcastic. I was like, good golly. I would not say no to EA. I don't know what studio they'd hand it to. Guys, really quickly, try to get us to 300 likes. We need 14 more. Microsoft and EA are the last two companies that need to own AC. Sucker Punch would be a perfect fit. I don't want Sucker Punch working on Assassin's Creed. I want Sucker Punch working on Ghosts of Yotei and then the third game. I'm assuming they're going to do 3 games. They're treating the Ghost, series like a franchise. That to me, that's what I want Sucker Punch working on. Last thing I want Sucker Punch doing is working on a frickin' Assassin's Creed game. The Jedi team. That's actually not, that's not a terrible suggestion, Paul. But again, I want the Jedi team working on the third Jedi game. I would not want the Jedi team working on an Assassin's Creed. I'd want them working on the third Jedi game. EA would be better than Microsoft, and I hate EA for their sports games, but they're not bad with single player. Assassin's Creed microtransactions. Go woke, go broke. Why are you just randomly saying that? I feel like Sony would need to establish a new studio for future Assassin's Creed under PlayStation. That's why I was saying that, like, if PlayStation did it, you would want them to acquire one of the studios that can make the games. And then you shrink scope. They're only building it for PlayStation, which would help. And then you basically save the IP from disappearing. But I don't know if PlayStation's going to want to do that. Are they going to want to suddenly take on that IP and that operating costs? I just don't know. To have a company, to have a studio and an IP that's like very similar and adjacent to Ghost of Tsushima, they might say no. They might not even be interested. I just really don't want it to go to Microsoft because, again, I'm just going to keep coming back to I don't think Microsoft is they're not good for creative process. I think Phil Spencer's been fighting a losing battle with Microsoft for years. I really, really do. And I think he lost, and now Satya is in the driver's seat. That's what I would continue to say to the Bleed Green guys. It's like, you guys are not cheering for Xbox anymore. You are cheering for Microsoft Gaming, and Satya is in the driving seat. And if you really go and listen to him talk, and you listen to the way he talks about things, do you really you think that's going to be good? You think in 5 years' time you're going to be really pleased with the results? I don't think so. I just don't think so. He never talks in a way where he prizes the things that gamers have prized for the last 20 to 30 years. He does not talk in a way where he has his sights set on giving gamers what gamers value and what gamers look for. He has his sights set on maximizing revenue. See, this is why I took so much issue with both Phil Spencer and the head of Xbox Game Studios saying, oh yeah, devs want as many players as possible. That's Satya talking. That is Satya talking. When Matt Booty said, there are games now There are single games like Fortnite that are larger than any one platform, and he says, and that really has changed how we think about things. That is Satya Nadella talking. That is not a gamer-centric game development viewpoint. It isn't. That's a C-suite viewpoint. That's executive talk. Look how big that is. Where do you think the live service push came from? Where do you think the live service push came from? It came from investors. It came from the C-suite. Why? Fortnite set the world on fire, and all these companies are like, we need to be doing that. We need that. We need to be making that money. Let's go out there and build ourselves a live service game. Publishers want as many players as possible. That's right. That's right. You can, oh my gosh, you can trace this line of thinking all the way back to the Famitsu interview with Phil Spencer in 2023. When they said, it really sounds like you've changed the way you view things, and Phil said that the catalyst of thinking differently about this was Minecraft. So when they say that there are games that are larger than any one platform and that developers want as many players as possible, they want as many players as possible. Satya wants as many players as possible. It's what they brag about in their earnings calls. They brag about MAU. This is an executive level order. You don't want this company buying more studios. You don't want this company buying more property, because that's all they're going to do. They're going to take every studio and every game and put it through the executive mindset sifting bowl of, you better get us as many players as possible. So you're going to see games come out too quickly because they're worried about cadence, right? They're not worried about quality. Get the games out. They're going to be trying to trend chase. They're going to be trying to do things that are popular. Well, that's popular. Do that. I think Sony wants the same thing. More people, more money. That's why they went the Concord route. You're not wrong, Guillermo. And every single time I've talked about this, I've said that's where PlayStation went wrong in their live service efforts. They said, well, that's popular, let's do that. That's all Concord was. Concord was, hero shooters are popular. I mean, back when they looked at it, back when it got greenlit, and back when Herman Hulst thought we got ourselves a winner here, I think it was like 2021 or something like that. He was probably thinking, oh yeah, we're going to be eating real good. No, it was a soulless trend chase. There was nothing there that felt original. And if they continue to do that, it's not going to work. That's why Bungie is going to be pivotal to their success, because Bungie's going to say, number one, this is what it's going to take to survive, and number two, you got to think about longevity and you got to think about demand, which is interesting because Bungie's building Marathon, which I think is completely foolhardy. I think that game is a dead man walking. Both companies want money, but they have different philosophies and approaches to getting it. At some level, I don't think they do, though. Think about Foam Stars and Concord. They're very similar in a couple of ways. They were these soulless copies of something else. Foam Stars was just this soulless copy of Splatoon. And I remember telling people, I was like, guys, don't dismiss this game, because I don't think anybody thought Splatoon was going to be insanely popular, and then look at it. Foam Stars was Square Enix. Yeah, and PlayStation entered into the agreement with them. So PlayStation clearly was like, hey, this could be a winner here. I actually thought Foam Stars had potential, because I thought in the right market, in the Asian market especially, that like cute, colorful, sort of like Hello Kitty vibe, Sailor Moon vibe, I thought this game could get a big audience. Because again, I always looked at Splatoon and I never understood why it was so popular, and I thought Foam Stars could strike a chord. It didn't. Why? It was just a soulless copy, and Concord was just a soulless copy. So they're all doing the same thing. When it comes to live service, they're misfiring. They're thinking, oh, we can do that too. In a very different way, that's exactly what happened to Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog thought, look at Fortnite, we can do the same thing. Let's carve off let's carve off factions and do a separate game. And then Bungie walked in the room and was like, you don't know what the heck you're doing. Your entire studio would have to support this effort. The longevity's not here. You guys don't even have a cadence of content that would keep people in your dadgum game, let alone you don't even have the bandwidth to do it if this is the only people that are working on it. So do you see? It's the exact same thing. It's a different version because Factions was original, right? Last of Us Online was going to be original. It wasn't some soulless copy of what somebody else was doing, but it really, really showed that like Naughty Dog was falling prey to the same thing. Like, oh yeah, we can do that too. We can do the live service thing too. And then Bungie walked in the room and said, you got no idea. No, you can't. Marvel Rivals is basically third-person Overwatch, and Marvel IP is hard carrying the game, I think. I think it's 50-50. I think it's right down the middle. I think Marvel Rivals is excellently built and really, really fun, and then it's like an Oreo cookie, man. It's like it's got both things smashed together, and then it leads to this just wonderful creamy center that everybody's enjoying. Like the Marvel IP is 100% a huge factor as to why that game is so popular. Like if it was just a generic hero shooter and it came out, it could have potentially, went viral. You get enough streamers playing it and singing its praises, but I think Marvel IP gives it staying power. The Marvel IP gives it a significant amount of staying power because you can always crank out a new character. You can always push out a new skin. You can always do some crazy fun event. I mean, look at what happened when they pushed out Sue Storm and the Fantastic Four. I mean, they've got like limitless things they can throw in the game, and then that always makes the game, get an injection of relevancy again. Yeah, Rumbleverse, all these other games are like these more generic games without any recognizable IP, and then they just fizzle into nothing. They just disappear because there's nothing there. It's like, well, what am I going to come and engage with? What am I going to come and play? So if the live service trend continues in that direction, and that's what PlayStation keeps doing, I mean, I got news for you. That those games will flop too. If their approach is going to be, well, this is our version of an extraction shooter. This is our version of, competitive heist game with fair games. I'm like, oh, okay. Those I don't think those stand a chance. It needed both. Multiverses failed while Rivals thrived. Well, but I think there's a big difference between recognizable IP, like, I don't know. I think Marvel is just so much more popular than like a game that has like, yeah, Batman was in there and Wonder Woman, but you have like Scooby-Doo, and I think that gets muddy. Like your identity as a game gets really muddled. It's like, oh, I can play as Batman and I can play as Scrappy-Doo, like, oh. But when you see Captain America, Iron Man, Venom, Spider-Man, Squirrel Girl, you don't even really know who Squirrel Girl is. You just see them thick thighs and you're like, I'm gonna go play that game. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's a happy marriage between a well-built game and extremely popular IP. It just is this wonderful happy marriage. And even they are dealing with the player dip. I mean, they were way up here in, peak of 640,000, and now they're down in the 200,000s on Steam. That's a drop, but that's normal. That's not cause for alarm. That's not cause for alarm. But I'm here to tell you, every live service game is facing that same gauntlet. That same gauntlet. Your peak has got to be so high in the hopes that the floor is not too low. Seriously. The peak of your game has to be so high in order to ensure that the floor is not too low. Because every game is going to go down and find its floor. Every game is going to go down and find its floor, always. From an outside perspective, it also helps that they seem more focused on making the games fun to play. I mean, I remember watching the early footage of Rivals, and I said it just looks so crisp and so enjoyable. I remember we were comparing it to Concord, and I just thought that Concord's UI was ugly. I not only that, I thought that the gameplay felt fine, but like there was something crisp and punchy about Rivals, you know. There was something there was something crisp about it. It looked really satisfying to land shots. I was like, that looks great. Never been a superhero fan growing up, oddly enough. I watched the cartoons, but never really cared for the toys or the games. Yeah, I mean, we were big DC fans growing up. We had the Hall of Justice, and we had, Batman and Superman and a Batmobile, and, we had all of them. We were actually more of a DC fan than a Marvel family. The hero abilities and Rivals are pretty creative and unique. I mean, that was another, I think, significant problem with Concord. It was a hero shooter with no ultimates, and I think you're breaking from... It's a really, really funny thing. If you're going to make a hero shooter, it has to be familiar enough. It has to be... I always said that Marvel Rivals is familiar in all the right ways. It's like, oh, this is similar to Team Fortress in Overwatch, right? Oh, this is similar to the Ultimates and how they function in Overwatch. So there's enough familiarity that people can just kind of get in and get to work. And a renewal from Freddie Jackson, 47 months, puts us a 10 bomb away from 275. I'm really struggling today with this. There it is. That'll make me owe you guys 15. If somebody drops a 10 and gets us a 275, I'll owe you 15 members. No alts made Concord better. I think it just made it Destiny with more abilities, honestly. It was just Destiny with more abilities. That just absolutely neutered its appeal. A hero shooter without ultimates is just weird. It is. I don't know. It feels like a racing game without a finish line. It's like, where's the big moment? Where, it made it more skillful. I mean, that could be debated, though. It certainly takes an awful lot of skill to time an ult. You can misfire on your ult and you can use it at the right time. You can turn the tide of an entire thing. And we got a brand new member plus from Taz. Thank you so much. That is a huge thing we've been working on right now. I wonder if we should put it visually on the board somewhere, like maybe over here in this corner. We are trying to get more and more folks to do that, and thank you for doing that. I count those as double. When somebody signs up for their own membership and picks Member Plus, that is a huge deal for what we try to do here. We're at 606 people paying for their own membership. I had the big goal and aspiration in 2025 to foster that group up to 1,000 people, to really, really grow a support base that is not so reliant upon the generosity and gifting of a handful of people. We have a handful of people that are just overly generous. And what I do is just very heavily dependent on a group of people that support it, and we get to do this every day. And we do extra content for that reason. We do morning coffee and green room for that very reason. Team shooting's not skillful. The design is awful. It's why Destiny PvP is so bad. At least Destiny has ultimates. Ult and Marvel Rivals are awesome. I love all the voice lines. There's nothing quite like running for my life when I hear Star-Lord screaming legendary. Plenty of people I play with completely waste their ultimate, and it makes no difference in the fight. Timing matters. Oh, you're saying because they did that, they don't make any difference in the fight. Yeah, they waste it. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it can turn the tide of a match, and if you don't use it at the right time, I did it once. The last game I played of Rivals, I think I played 3 total games because it's just not for me. I was the Punisher, and I ulted, and I don't think I wiped the team, but I came pretty doggone close to wiping the team, and we won. and then I was the MVP. It showed the clip. And if I would have messed that up and I wouldn't have got all those kills, I mean, they went to one. I mean, they were right at our doorstep at the very end. And I was just like, I literally said, I was like, this is why I don't like these games. I feel like the difference between winning and losing, I don't feel the difference in the gameplay. The gameplay, it always feels like a meat grinder. Whether I'm winning or losing, it feels static to me. I'm not saying that it is static. I'm saying to me, it feels static. It feels like an experience that just doesn't change. Those are the best wins. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure people that play think that that's awesome. They think that that's like hyper intense and great. But I don't know, man. I don't like it. Cheaper town hall? I'm not sure what that means. Okay. VIP renewal from Jen A. Thank you, Jen A. And gets us to 268. Thank you guys so much. Oh, it's an alt line. Oh, okay. It makes Rivals an Overwatch clone, but hey, if you make a hero shooter bad, if you do stuff different, but here it's a no-win scenario. Well, that's why I said it's a catch-22. Like, you have to be familiar enough, but if you're too familiar, then people are going to say there's nothing original here. If you're not familiar enough, people are going to be like, well, this isn't a good hero shooter. You see what I'm saying? Like, I have a video on the channel about this. I forget. I think we said Marvel Rivals is unrivaled. And I think one of the points I made in the video was it's familiar. It's familiar in all the right ways. Like, nobody had to be taught, oh, if we take this lane or we take this approach, or the healer needs to go here, or the tank needs to go here, and the DP, right? People immediately can start talking strategy and start talking timing and start talking team cohesion because it's familiar in all the right ways. It's like, oh, I get this. Concord wasn't a hero shooter. Team Fortress isn't a hero shooter either. Crucible sucks because there are too many variables and builds that don't create an even battlefield. Concord was balanced. Balance is boring. I think I'm always going to come back to that. I think balance is boring. I think the reason that Rivals is so successful is because there's balance beneath the chaos, but it feels chaotic when you're playing it. There's just constantly something going on, an ult, an explosion, somebody needing healing, and they try to balance it. You don't want somebody just running through the map and killing everybody like Hulk all of a sudden just is World Breaker and he just destroys everybody in one swing. That would not be fun. Like, imbalance isn't the goal. You want it to almost feel like that. You want it to feel like it's chaotic and imbalanced. A good Rivals match is a seesaw. Balance is 100% required. Everything needs a counter. I think the way to look at it is to say, if you're going to balance a game, it needs to be balanced around skill expression. So you need good skill to counter, if somebody's going to do a push, an ult, or, whatever terminology they use when they play the game. I don't watch people play it, right? It's only balanced because somebody can counter, but you need it to take skill. Does that make sense? Like, one of the issues I had with Concord, and this harkens back to the PvP era of Destiny that was nothing but team shotting. The way to counter what one team was doing was to be more patient than the other team. We're not going to them. We're just going to sit here and stare at a door. Here they come. Team shot. Bow, 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 bow. But got them. Like, there's no skill to counter that. The skill to counter team shot is to team shot right back. To like, just sit and stare at a door. You know, or you just death ball through the map. And once your death ball's rolling, no one can stop you because here comes 3 to 4 people. I just spawned. Pit, 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 pit. I'm dead. You know, and then it's especially once you get in a cycle, it's like those old Quake map cycles where you're just cycling through the map. Anybody that pops up gets killed almost instantaneously. There's no counter. There's no skill to counter that. Spawning, turning a corner, and getting shot by 3 people. I mean, okay. So I don't have an upload today, guys. So what we'll do is I'll give you 15 minutes, and if you guys want to extend, Nightbot is back on the menu, right? Nightbot's back on the menu, so you can submit questions and have them here. And if you extend, we kind of turn it into a members-only AMA. I'll give you 15 minutes. We got to get to the milestone of the day. The milestone today, we would need about 30 more members. Petrov says, which live service game do you think is the best? I don't think there is one that is the best. I think they appeal to people for different reasons. You know, so like I liked Fortnite for a really long time, but then Fortnite kind of became a mess. It just kind of became a mess. Like I feel like the no build community game nights are some of the most fun we've had, right? But I wouldn't be like, oh, that one's the best. I think Valorant's done, you know, really, really good things. I think it's done well. I think Rainbow Six Siege has really turned itself around and done right by the players. Yeah, I don't think there's one that's quote unquote like the best. So Enjoy says, thoughts on the new Last of Us Season 2 trailer? I didn't watch. Oh, I watched it last night with Madam. It looks great. I think it looks great. It looks like it's going to be insane. I like the way that we've been handling like our television watching. Like we're being very patient and we're being very tactical with what we watch and when we watch it. So like we always have something of a high caliber and a high quality to watch. So yeah. Yeah. I'm excited. We're rewatching all of the, and Haseo gifts a member and says, come on boys, let's extend the stream. He gets us to 269. We're 6 away from me owing you guys 5. We're gonna go to the green room in 13 minutes. If you guys want to extend, we need 31 more members. We need to be on pace, and that's when we extend and we keep things going. I put the stream in your hands. I do. You can help move this number. You do not have to gift. You can sign up on your own. We've really been calling on the viewers who regularly tune in and listen to support the channel directly with the membership. It's basically a cup of coffee a month. It's $6 a month, and you get into the green room, the Discord, morning coffee, streams with Hilly. We do Friday night streams with my wife. You get access to like a second side of the channel. So thank you, Haseo, for gifting that member. So yeah, we're rewatching Daredevil because I know they're doing like one a week. And with one episode a week, it's like we've got plenty of time. So we're going to work our way back through all of the episodes and seasons, and then we'll be all caught up, and then we'll watch the new one. So my stupid watch is still, it didn't spring forward. What the heck is this thing doing? Do you have to go into the settings and tell it? Maybe it just needs to pair. Maybe if I pair it, it'll automatically pull down the time. Just trying to do my part while I can. Haseo, I appreciate it, man. You've always been so positive. There it goes. It updated the time. I just had to connect it via Bluetooth. Live service games are not my cup of tea, says Hal. It's nice for people to like them, but I will never be hyped for them. I prefer single player and local multiplayer games. There was a time where I said that I thought more and more companies and games and studios were going to be going live service. And clearly that came to fruition. I think I read the industry tea leaves appropriately, but I didn't think I'd realize that it would just continue to be a gauntlet of failure for so many people. There are a lot of games that haven't even arrived yet, like Project LLL, and there were a handful of others that we were watching and paying attention to, and they've kind of just, they've either gone quiet or just kind of vanished, or maybe they're just not happening. I don't know. But I definitely was like, listen, there's going to be more and more live service games coming. And, you know, and I remember telling people, it's not a matter of I want everything to be live service. It's that I think more and more games are going to be. Now, I do think there was a part of me that liked the idea of ongoing games, but I think I've kind of, you spend enough time away from a live service game like Destiny, and I think what happens is you start to play other games and you start to appreciate something that you only play for a set amount of time, and then that's the end of it. Like playing, I have finished so many games this year, and there's just something very satisfying about that. I just rolled credits on Ender Magnolia last night. Before that, it was Final Fantasy 16. Before that, it was the two Tale of Iron games. Before that, it was Nine Souls. Before that, it was Plague Tale Requiem. Before that, it was Space Marine 2. Before that, it was Kena Bridge of Spirits. Like, boom, 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 boom. I'm just moving through the backlog, and it's like, there is something so satisfying about playing a game with a beginning, middle, and an end. And I think similarly, I think this is analogous to what I did to myself with Call of Duty. With Call of Duty, I played it so much I got sick of it. I think I played Destiny for so many years that I'm just like, I just really don't want to play a live service game anymore. I don't. And Creature's like, oh, one's gonna hook you, and that'll be our unicorn, right? Your analysis of live service games is so good. We've got to find that game. I think I'll have to go through another evolution as a gamer. I think I'll have to evolve back into somebody who wants to play a live service game, because right now I don't. I'm just like, GTA 6, severely doubt that's gonna hook me and make me want to play in a live service sort of way. Severely doubt that. It helps that COD and Destiny aren't good anymore. You'll miss it enough. I don't think so. That's what unicorn games do. No, I don't think anybody has the potential to build a game like that anymore. I don't. When the right game comes around you want to play? No, I don't think so. I think I'm always going to hit the wall. I'm always going to get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I'm done. I want to play something else. I don't want to play this anymore. I just don't think I want to play another game like that. I don't have the desire, and I don't know what a game could do or build that would make me say, I just hit hour number, like let's take Helldivers for instance. I got into hour like 70 something, and I was like, okay. And I mean, I was loving it. I was playing it every night. We were covering it like crazy. We had a channel dedicated to news about it. And I got to 70 something hours, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. You know. Returnal and Ghost of Tsushima were unicorns that change you. Another one will too. It's inevitable. Yeah, I don't agree. I don't. I think there's a difference between saying, I enjoy this game genre now, and saying, this game is so good, I want to keep playing it for years. I don't think there's a game type, genre, or gameplay loop that's going to do that to me. I just don't think so. I've aged out of PvP games. I will never come back to PvP. I just know that I won't. I think I've aged out of live service. I'm just like, no. I'm gonna hit a threshold with the game and say, I've seen enough. I want to play something else, you know? And maybe that's the recipe. Maybe there's a game that comes along that I can do that, where like I take a break, play other games, come back, take a break, play other games, come back. But I really do. I just wonder if like the era of that time is fading, not just for me, but for other people. It's like, yeah, I don't really want another job game. You know, I don't want another job game. The method of getting me to keep playing is going to be laced with something that tastes sour eventually. Helldivers 2 progress becomes a desert around 70, nothing left to unlock. For sure, the dopamine hit fades. You know, they're not getting anything, you're not unlocking anything, you know. MMOs disagree? What do you mean MMOs disagree? How many MMOs have been dealing with player loss? Like, what do you mean MMOs disagree? Tons of people have moved on from playing games like that. They have. I think if right now you're trying to launch an MMO and a live service game, good luck. Good luck. I think the generation that played EverQuest all night and played Call of Duty all night and played, you know, Destiny for 10 straight years, I think that generation's like, yeah, I've had enough of this. I do. I think there's a shift happening. I'm not trying to project my view. I'm saying that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people express that. I'm seeing the hardest of the hardcore on Twitter and on Reddit and on YouTube express this like, I don't really want a job game anymore. You know? Lots of people still play ESO, but the player numbers are always going down. They're always shrinking. They're not going up or maintaining. They're always on that downward trajectory. I don't know. I mean, look at the player trajectories of a game as popular as Rivals. Rivals took the world by storm, and look how far it's fallen. It's inevitable. I don't think you can... I just think people move on. I think they get tired of it. You know? Like, think about how Fortnite and Warzone prove what I'm saying with their own behavior. They prove it. They're always trying to throw out something new. They're always trying to detonate the meta. They're always trying to, like, rattle the ADHD brain of the player base. Like, come back, keep playing. It's like they're constantly trying to basically, like, just stick dynamite in the game and boom, it's different now. Like, why? Because I think people just move on. They're just like, I've seen enough, I've played enough. You know? I don't know, man. A lot of the original gamers are getting old. Yeah, I do. I think you're facing it from two ends. I think people are getting older, and therefore they're just getting to the point where they're like, yeah, I don't really want to do that anymore. And then I think the younger generation, I don't know if they're going to have the staying power. I don't know if they're going to play games like that. Right? Like, they'll play Fortnite, and they'll jump into Apex, and they'll play whatever their game, you know, whatever game their friends are playing. But I don't know if they're going to, like, stick the landing with some live service game and go the distance with it, like we all did with Destiny. Or like people did with EverQuest, or like people did with World of Warcraft. I think you're losing both ends of the generational pool. The older people are like, frick that, I don't need a job game anymore. And then the younger generation, they don't want no job game. That's not how they play. The way that some of us play Destiny, and the way that people have played WoW, and the way that people have played games like EverQuest and others, I think that time's coming to not an end, but I think it's diminishing. A lot of those players, their hobby isn't video games, their hobby is Fortnite and COD. I don't know. I think that's one of the reasons maybe why single-player games are having this explosion of sales, contrary to what everybody was saying about how, you know, AAA is cooked and live service is ruining everything. I don't know. I think people are returning to their roots. They want worlds to live in for 50 to 100 hours, and then they're happy to put it down. Aloy and her little buddies are going to stroll out on a Horizon MMO street, and we'll see. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I don't have confidence in it. No, I don't. I don't have confidence in the Horizon MMO. No. Yeah, I think you're stretching the IP thin. I think it's a bad idea. I do. I think what makes that game work so well is the contained story and the characters and the world, and stretching that and spreading it thin into like a Monhun style MMO. If they can channel the Monhun vibe, you could get that crowd. And that's a big crowd. We know this. I just worry you're stretching that IP real thin. You really are. It's so popular, they're like, put it everywhere, you know. Settle down, Cranberry Man. It's like, you know, we got some cranberries. You want some, we'll call it Cran Apple. We'll split 50-50. We could call it Cran Grape. We'll split 50-50. It's like, we got Horizon. We'll put her in everything. We'll put her in Genshin. We'll put her in Fortnite. We'll have an MMO. We'll have a TV show. We'll do a third game. We'll do a multiplayer game. Oh boy, you better be careful. You're going to spread that IP too thin. And everybody's going to be sick of it. They have a great world that they created. They just need to keep making single-player games with the new protagonist after Aloy finishes her trilogy. Yeah, maybe. The Aloy AI. Yeah, they're practicing like AI NPCs. All right, it's 1 o'clock. It is 1 o'clock. We're going to shift to Green Room. I will give you guys a teeny bit of a stay of execution because I wasn't reminding you. If you want to extend the stream, we need to be on pace. We're not on pace. We've fallen behind. If this hits 300, I'll extend and we can turn it into an AMA Q&A, right? Looking like a parrot, knotting your hair like that. Thanks. Have you played V Rising? We got a question here from RPG. Have you played V Rising? I'm kind of addicted to it now. V Rising's loop is very, it pulls you in. I remember playing it the first day I believe it was available. And I remember telling people like, we have got a game here. This game's got a little bit of a hook to it. But I didn't go back because it was a game I would have had to have like had people to play with. And I don't think my wife would enjoy it. I don't know what the timeline is for Assassin's Creed Shadows getting co-op, but I really do feel like my wife and I could have a blast with that game. I also think it could be some of the funniest streams we've ever done because we can do dual perspective now, which I don't know. I just don't know if we're going to complete. I don't know if you guys want it or not. I wonder if we should just do a vote. I feel like we're going to just overstay our welcome with Split Fiction. If I do a full playthrough with Hilly, I've already done a full playthrough with Madam. I don't know if I want to do another full playthrough with Madam. I'm doing a playthrough with my son. I think I'm going to get sick of Split Fiction. That's just too much. Like, I played through It Takes Two 3 times, but it was super spread out. It was like I played through it with Hilly, and then like a year later, I played through it with my wife, and then like a year later, I played through it with my son. I'm like, I beat the game with Madam. I'm playing through it with Hilly. I'm playing through it with my boy, and then I'm going to potentially keep playing through the game with you guys on Friday nights. I just don't know if that's a good idea. I'm going to get burned out. I thought it would be funnier to do dual perspective Returnal. I thought that would be more entertaining to watch Madam and I try to play Returnal because like that's actually, to me, that's actually interesting. Like Split Fiction's like fun and it's funny and I really like it and I've had a blast with it. It's one of the best co-op experiences I've ever had, but I don't want to like overstay my welcome in the game. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. That's going to be 4 playthroughs in just such a short amount of time. I think that's just too much. Just finished the second story in Split Fiction with my friend. We're loving it. ACS? Huh? Oh, AC Shadows. AC Shadows isn't out yet. And me playing Returnal with Madam's commentary, I'm sorry, me playing Death Stranding with Madam's commentary would probably be pretty funny. Enjoyed you and Porter Rock video. I'd love to see more with you guys. I had a lot of fun with Porter Rock. I did. I'm giving you guys 10 minutes. I'm giving you 10 minutes. We'll go at 1:15 to Green Room. We'll go at 1:15 to Green Room. Have you played Death Stranding at all? So, I got 4 hours in a while ago and stopped playing because I was like, I can't stream the game. It's too slow. Right? I feel like it's too slow, but But I went back in because Death Stranding 2 just looks so good. I feel like I really would like to roll credits on Death Stranding 1. So I thought, okay, I just want to have a cinematic experience. I'm not looking for the challenge. So I was like, let me drop it to very easy and just see if I can just play through the game, right? So I played last night. I'm like, this game is such a vibe. I was like, I like it. I like the grabbing of the things and the balancing. I don't know how he did it, but the walking and the balancing and the climbing, the mechanics are actually really enjoyable. It really is. I'm like, I really like this. And people are like, dude, if you can get a little bit further in the game, it really turns a corner. How many times did you tip over? I actually didn't tip over last night. I almost did. Now, I currently have a bunch of quests stacked, and I mean, that sucker's up there. It looks like I'm carrying like 18 pizzas. And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get down this hill. I'm just going to fall. I'm just going to fall. I thought that, okay, I'll play it. That could be pretty fun on a Friday night. We could make that maybe like a stretch goal. You know what I mean? Like, hey, that could also help me play through some of the game, You finally got the electric bite last night? Nice. I tipped over like 2,000 times in that game. It turns a corner once you get to the main area. I don't think I'm in the main area yet. I'm still doing stuff where I'm kind of ping-ponging back to the place west of Knot City. I just got the wind farm online. And I forgot you could crouch, so I kept getting caught by the BTs, but I think because I have it on easy, I kept getting away. I would just shake them off, pick up my box, and keep going. Like, I kept getting away from them, which I don't want to keep getting grabbed by them. It's very tedious. I want to get better at sneaking around them. Porter Rock needs to stop talking consoles and talk about games. His show will never grow, talking about plastic 80% of the time. I think the difficulty is that right now, much of the passion and the conversation in the industry is centered around the plastic. It's centered around the boxes. It's centered around, the evolution of Xbox. It's centered around, a lot of dishonesty about FSR and PSSR, It's like, how do you not... How do you not talk about these things? They're like front burner issues. Like, look at the thumbnail we have today. Look at the topics of today. Last of Us Part 3 update, intergalactic details, and Iron Man game demo. We talked about that for 10 minutes, and then we immediately got onto all these other subjects. We got onto like live service. We got onto like strategy. We got onto FSR and PSSR. We got onto like, I don't know if we got onto like, do we want Xbox or PlayStation to buy Assassin's Creed? It's a masterpiece. He made Fetch Quest fun because he perfectly designed a game around it. Yeah, and plus Porter Rock likes to talk crap. He likes to talk crap. How much other player stuff have you encountered? Ladders and rope. Somebody's rope helped me get up to one spot. And these mule guys attacked me, and I just punched the snot out of them. Again, I've got it on very easy, so I just punched the tar out of them, and they all died. That's why I feel like you will grow. I mean, I try to, especially with my uploads, I think it's easier. Like, if you look at my uploads, like if I just pull up my channel right now and I go to my uploads, page, like, I think this is like a really, really good mix. I don't think you could come here and claim that, like, oh my gosh, he's only ever talking about the same thing. It's like you got PS5 Pro, GTA 6, the 30 FPS discussion, Last of Us Part 3, my Split Fiction review, my opinion about why I think Monhan Wilds is a problem, PS5 Pro must play games, Xbox time to ship, are we getting Gears of War E-Day this year, Fable, the delay, I've got questions about it, right? Liza P, is it going to get co-op? Hell Is Us, Last of Us Online, Dodging a Bullet, Astrobot, Elden Ring, Night Rain, Lost Soul Aside. Like, I feel like you're getting a really, really good blend. I like the talk show. The problem with the talk show is like, it's a live fire exercise. Like, I'm going to respond to what people are saying. Like, we're going to respond to debate, and you run out of ideas when you're talking about systems all day. Oh, I don't know if it's about running out of ideas. I would not want to attribute a negative to what Porterock does. I don't think he runs out of ideas. I think it's what he likes to talk about. They've that crew and that group, they've gone back and forth, for a while on these subjects and made predictions. And you start getting, those predictions correct, you're going to want to kind of strut around. Chuhai Labs has announced Wild Blue, which they call a love letter to Nintendo Star Fox 64 from some of the original programmers. Did you guys see this? Wild Blue is reimagining the classic on-rail shooters of the 90s. The game was announced via teaser trailer, who programmed the original Star Fox game. Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, there's no gameplay. It's just an announcement. Do we have anything else other than the announcement trailer? The game will feature handcrafted anime-style visuals, a compelling gameplay loop, branching paths, and thrilling missions. The game key feature will follow all these key features. Oh, here we go. Maybe? Is this 2, you think? Well, if it's like Star Fox, you'll have people with you sometimes. This looks great. This looks great. Like, I absolutely loved Star Fox 64. The original Star Fox was pretty brutal, but Star Fox 64 had a lot of great innovation with the targeting and stuff. All right, you guys have 5 minutes to extend the stream. You do? You got 5 minutes if you want to bat signal the big boys to come save your bacon. If not, we are going to be heading to the green room, which that's why you want to be Member Plus, so you can keep coming with us. So upgrade today. Guys, if you're on an iPhone or an Android, check to see if the upgrade button's there. They've done some updates. Make sure you're on the latest version. Go to my channel homepage, slide over to the memberships tab, and see if the upgrade button is there. It's $1 more, and you get into all the extra content. Am I the only one who's never played a single game of Fortnite? Googly? No, I don't think so. Plenty of people have probably not played Fortnite. And you guys can help push the member line by celebrating your renewals. So always click the $ at the bottom of the chat and see if you have a renewal to celebrate. When you're on Member Plus and VIP, we count it. D-Batch is responding to somebody on my tweet. He says, it's good and it got updated. FSR4 is better because they cooked it more. You missed the point that Sony and AMD worked together to create FSR4 based on the PSSR models. Now that the work is going into the PS4, now it's going back into the PS5 Pro PSSR. He's responding to somebody who said, it does seem like the current implementation of PSSR is not as good and will be replaced by a better model. But no, see again, you're negatively framing it. This technology, this upscaling technology, whether it's DLSS, FSR, or PSSR, it's not designed to be static. It's not designed to be static. They're trying to create a negative framing here. It's like they build these systems in a way that then they can be improved. Yeah, it's how it works with everything. DLSS has gotten better. FSR has gotten better. Like, it's quite literally how these models are designed, but we're only going to apply the negative framing to Sony. Like, you suspect. You suspect, boy. Like, you're not saying anything that you wouldn't then be able to say about every other piece of tech that's out there. It's you're saying virtually nothing. You're quite literally posturing as if, yeah. So let's just do a thought experiment. 60 seconds before we got to go to green room. I'm going to schedule green room right now. Let's just do a thought experiment. So these guys actually believe that they worked on PSSR all this time, threw it out there, implemented it, put the PS5 Pro out in the market, and 6 months later, they're like, oh, frick, we suck. Let's change it. Like, that's not how technology works. You think they're just going to like e-brake, spin the car, like, yeah, PSSR sucks. It's time to get off of this and get on FSR. It's like, you guys have no idea how technology works if you think that's what they're doing. You literally have no idea. Technology doesn't move like that. It makes far better sense to say, oh, they developed something, and then it helped FSR4 improve. And now FSR4 is going to help PSSR improve. Instead of this weird read that, like, you think 6 months in, Cerny's like, herder, we don't know what we're doing. Thanks, AMD. Like, Jiminy Christmas. It's hard out here for us factual folks. Try to stay factual. It's like, oh, it's mind-numbing. The magic of AI upscalers is all in the training. They are continuing to improve training. It's a rapidly moving field. And the grand irony in it, the damnable part about this is all the people, you know, pissing and moaning about it. It's like you're going to end up getting better technology because of it. Hopefully, oh, my browser might have been unmuted. Yeah, I probably just blared you guys. It's like, you're going to get better stuff because of this. You're all whining and moaning, and it's like, but the relationship's going to bring good things to fruition. All right, that's where we're going. That's Green Room. If you want to come with us, you got to be at Member Plus. It's upgrading's getting easier and easier on mobile, so check and see if you can. Thank you so much for being a paying member to this channel. We are continuing to keep Green Room at the paying member status. It's kind of staying behind that paywall, and we appreciate you doing that. If these videos ever disappear, we are experimenting a little bit with how long they're available because it does kind of weigh down on the channel. So you want to watch these when they're live or at least a day or two after. Also, they're making upgrade easier. Some guys have done it recently, man. They've gone on their Android or their iPhone. There's an upgrade button there, and they were able to upgrade. So thank you to everybody who's done that. I'm going to end the previous stream and bring folks over with redirect. I actually forgot to set up redirect. Let me do that right now. And if you want to come with us, you can upgrade. It's a lot easier now, or do it on a browser. It's even easier to do there. And then I am going to change the thumbnail over there.